Well, they just didn't want your week to start off relaxing.
That's fine. I don't. As long as we're on by 6:01, I don't give a damn. But that was weird. Everything seems to be in the right place. It's a good 8-10 minute tech show we did last night.
Yep.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Overreaction Monday. Do we have a lot to react to? So much so, we even need a guest. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Top of the morning to you, Mark. Anybody else get fired since we went to bed? Anybody?
Is this on? Hello? Am I still working? Not that I know of, David. Holy cow. The hammer dropped in Happy Valley.
Hey, when the incoming major corporate sponsor says he's got to go, and they're like, it's $49 million, and they go, we'll pay it. Oh, well, in that case, all right, we can do this. That's the word. Apparently, Adidas was like, this ain't going to work for us. And they start their big deal with Penn State beginning next year. They're like, yeah, he can't be the coach. This ain't going to work. Huh. Okay. Well, if you're going to pay for it, hot damn.
Yes, and, I saw a great piece last night that said, we've got the guy from Texas Tech that's spending all the money on the ads to save college sports.
Yep.
The buyout would pay for 5,000 scholarships for non-revenue sports, Olympic sports, if you will.
Right.
5,000 scholarships. So let's save sports. Make sure you call your congressman because the schools don't have enough money. Oh, right. No. They only care about one sport. And I think that the real question this morning is, as it relies to Penn State, David, is very simply, will they become Georgia? Because this is what Georgia did, not midseason, but they had a guy that, for the most part, won all the games he was supposed to win. I get it. This is historic. No one in the since they split FCS and FBS like in the early 70s, no one has ever lost back-to-back games when favored by 20 points or more. That's what Penn State's just done. And their quarterback's done, so things are going to be ugly all year long in Happy Valley. But will they be Georgia, or will they be name the school? Quite frankly, name the school that fired their coach that wanted to get to championship levels and never did.
Nebraska.
UCLA.
Well, I don't know if UCLA, we could debate that. Although, boy, a lot of people think James Franklin would be great at UCLA. It's for another day.
I'm sorry, USC. I didn't mean to say USC. I put the wrong California letters.
Gotcha.
USC. I'm sorry. But we could go through the school.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Have fired their coach with championship expectations and never came close to getting them. How many times did Miami do it? Now, they might have the right guy and the right thing, and everything's working out really well at this moment in time for the Canes. But, Hey, I felt it was coming. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't taken aback when James Franklin was fired. But who are they going to become? And when you really look back at who they were, they only won with him, what, one Big Ten title?
2016, yeah. Yep. Now I will say, Penn State was a mess before James Franklin. They really
Yes.
were, and we all know why, right? And he more than solidified it. And he got them to a top 10 level. He couldn't get them to break into the top 5. Even though they made the national semis last year, they did so with a very favorable draw. All right. I mean, the record's right there against top 5 teams, against top 10 teams. In many ways, he was Mark Richt at Georgia. Richt took Georgia to a higher level. He did. Okay. But he didn't get them to Alabama, LSU, and at times Florida level. And the Georgia folks said, we can't live with this any longer. 9-10 wins is not enough. We need to go to Atlanta consistently. We need to win when we get to Atlanta, and we need to compete for national championships. Period. End of sentence. What will it take? Who will it take? In Penn State's case, Mark, I don't think it will take anything more from the school. Honestly, I just think they got to find the right guy.
We'll see. That in and of itself, David, is one hell of a question. It really is. And I know Michigan got theirs, but there's one team in that conference that operates at the level that Penn State wants to operate at. No one else does. No one. Oregon's close, still is, but they just lost Indiana. They've made the playoff. They got screwed last year by their draw. Dan Lanning's done an amazing job at Oregon, but they're not at the Buckeyes level. There is no one in the stratosphere in that conference that's at the level of Ohio State. No one. Michigan's not, Oregon's not, Penn State's not, USC's not, Indiana sure as hell trying for a moment in time, but let's be real. The Big Ten is, you could safely look at the Big Ten as a one-team conference, and that may bum out all of you Big Ten fans out there. But there's Ohio State right now, and there's everyone else, year in, year out.
But I think Penn State can join them, and they think they can join them. By the way, I think Oregon could join them. I do. I mean, Oregon played for 2 natties before joining the Big Ten, all in the last 15 years. I mean,
they're the closest. They have the money, and I think they have the coach. I think Oregon's right there.
Yeah,
but they're not in the same sentence as the Buckeyes.
Well, no, but it's the same in the SEC. No one's in the same sentence as Alabama. Okay, I mean the very same thing. And LSU's done a lot in the last 20 years, but they're not at Alabama's level of consistency and greatness. So, I mean, it's,
but Georgia's in the same sentence now.
Yes, they are.
Georgia's put themselves there. No one else in that conference has.
Yeah, okay, in the last 7-8 years. And that's what Penn State is saying. You go back to, that's the deal. Penn State's saying, hey, we have been Georgia pre-Kirby. We want to find our Kirby and be Georgia. So we were Georgia. They got tired of it. They wanted to be Alabama. And now we've been Georgia, and we're tired of it. We want to be Ohio State. But in Kirby's case, he had to teach the Georgia people. Like they said, we want you to be coach. He said, I'm only going to take the job. I'm at Alabama. This is what it takes to play for and win natties. And I know for a fact that that's not what you do here. So we need to start doing that. And I want it in writing, and then I'll sign. Penn State, I think, already does what Ohio State does. Okay, they just need the right guy to win the big games. And we saw it on Saturday. Coaching matters. Look at what's going on in Indiana.
David, you're right. Coaching matters. And maybe James Franklin didn't bring in all the right. They thought they had him. But I'll just look at one area that it takes is elite talent at the explosive positions. Penn State had a great tight end, and a great running back before that. When have they ever had more than one on a team? Ohio State has 7 guys on every team that are going first round draft picks on Sunday. Penn State hasn't had that. Now, can they get that with a new coach? Maybe. But I don't think the talent, and maybe it's just a coach, but I mean, we're all paying now. And you're right in saying that Penn State has the resources to do what Ohio State's doing. Oregon has the resources. They do. And Oregon, I think talent level, I thought, was closer. But Penn State, talent-wise, isn't where Ohio State is. Certainly at the skilled positions part of the game. Now, maybe they can get there.
Okay. They're not far away, though. They're not far away. And clearly, the next guy has to get them to perform better in the bigger games. It is remarkable how close Franklin was just last season to playing for the national championship. It's remarkable that 16 days ago, they were a play away from beating Oregon. A play. They had a 7-point lead in overtime, and they had forced a 4th down. They were a play away. How different would the last 15, 16 days have gone if that one play was made?
Miller and Moulton. We will talk with Bill Bender. He covers the Big Ten as well as anybody in the country. He will join us in the 7 o'clock hour. But there was more than the firing of James Franklin over the weekend. We had an epic baseball game on Friday. We had a terrific college football Saturday. And then yesterday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did it again. For that matter, so did the Miami Dolphins. They just did it in different ways. The Dolphins do what they do, and the Bucs do what they do. The Jags took one on the chin. That offense looked pretty rough yesterday, taking out a really good Seattle defense. And, yeah, the ALCS got going, and the big dumper delivered.
You just like saying big dumper.
You're damn right I do.
But they're 3 wins away from a place they've never gone. You know, that's who I'm rooting for.
Gets started tonight with another team that hasn't been, well, it's been there, but it's been a long damn time. We'll try to break it all down for you on this Overreaction Monday, plus the starting 5, 25 minutes away. Miller and Moulton.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Mac, none of us did, including IU alums.
What shocked me is just how damn good their defense was. Is Penn State just a coach away from being a national title contender annually? You okay with that for a Monday morning poll question?
Yep. In the Big Ten title game, Michael, but no,
Right.
not in the regular season. Well, congratulations, Paula. Do you like her? We won't tell anybody.
Or is he going to pull her after the 6th inning?
Do we think she only has 99 pitches in her,
Or essentially, Paula, all that matters for you is can she deliver a grandchild? I mean,
can't believe we're questioning Billy Napier and his game management. Can't believe it.
there were so many games over the weekend that at the half, tables turned. USC got a touchdown right before halftime. That Florida thing right there. I mean, there was a lot of games that, to me, decisions that were made at the half turned out to be big. Paula, it sucked. It was an epic game, but it sucked. The pitcher should have got AJ Hinch. I blame him, and he was fine with the decision. We talked. It was okay. Okay. GM got nothing at the deadline. Suarez had a really big hit last night. When did they get him?
The deadline.
A veteran bat. And I don't know what I saw yesterday or, Saturday. I didn't see the Detroit papers piling on. They just, okay, let's talk about the announcer dropping an F-bomb.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you on this Overreaction Monday. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Oh, man. Gotta love sports, huh? Got to love sports. Boy, does it deliver. Is that baseball game from Friday night over yet?
I don't think so. The only reason I know it's over is that Seattle played last night. And obviously it affected all their pitching matchups. We'll see how it does for the rest of the series. But they come out and win game one and pitched very well throughout. Because this just in, Toronto's got a couple of bats.
How weird was that? Leadoff guy homers. They have one hit the rest of the night. Wow. If I could just go back for a second, and this is not to talk about Penn State, it's to talk about the Florida Gators. Now, I know most of Gator Nation wants a new coach, but Gator Nation, you're directing your angst towards the wrong person at this point. It shouldn't be directed towards Billy Napier. He's not up to the job. Okay, you need to direct it to Scott Strickland and to other important people who make the University of Florida go. Because this is what needs to be pointed out. James Franklin's last 3 years were 11-2, 10-3, and 13-3. That's right. He went 34-8. And played at a Big Ten title game and got to a national semifinal and won a Rose Bowl.
If they don't throw a pick, by the way, in that national semifinal late, they probably play for a natty.
34-8, played for a Big Ten title, played in the national semis, won a Rose Bowl, which in that conference means something. Okay, 34-8. And 16 days ago was 3-0 and ranked in the top 3. So that's 37-8. Right. 16 days later, they fired him. That's committed to football. Or needs to be committed. But either way, think about that. 34-8 and a 3-0 start this year, ranked in the top 3. And they couldn't get rid of their coach fast enough. Do we need to go through the last 3.5 years in Billy Napier's record? I'm pretty sure there's a 6-7, there's a 5-7, there's an 8-5, right? Something like that. And then there's this year. I mean, he's below 500 in 3.5 years. Below 500. James Franklin was 34-8 the last 3 years. 37-8 17 days ago. Okay? Okay, so we know about Billy Napier.
We get it. You're right. Your angst is right. They hired
Right.
the wrong guy because they have given, I will say this, they've given him everything he wanted. They built the organization
Yes.
the way top programs build the organization.
Right.
And people that cover football say when you go to Gainesville on non-game days, it doesn't look any different than Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State.
Right.
They've set it up the right way.
Right. So Sunday through Friday, okay, apparently the job's been done. You have as many layers as the Pentagon. You're below 500 for the last 3.5 years. Okay. You couldn't run Jim McElwain out. You ran Dan Mullen out of town for a bad month.
Yep.
Same AD, by the way. Same
Yeah,
AD.
well,
Hired Mullen.
How many coaches is he going to get to hire?
Exactly. So you're directing your anger and disgust at the wrong person and in the wrong place. And the basketball coach winning a natty should not blind you from what has gone on with the football program. And there's one person responsible for that. That's who needs to go. Because he has shown he can hire the right guy. Or he had the right guy and unloaded him because he had one bad month. One.
And he's given this guy 3.5 mediocre to bad years.
34-8 the last 3 years. A Rose Bowl win, a Big Ten championship game appearance, and a national semifinal appearance. And they weren't that crazy with him when the season started. And Florida, you really think your job is better than Penn State's right now? Seriously. Okay, that's how they view it inside the sport and from the outside looking in. You think you're serious about football? You're not serious about football. Please. Penn State, that's serious about football.
Absolutely right. Nothing that I can even say to counter what David just said. Not a thing. And we talked about this last year, and this is where the void at presidency, if you will, has maybe protected Strickland. But come on, you've got the big boosters. You've got the money, right? Your buyout's $24 million. Penn State's going to fork over $50 million after the move they made yesterday.
And by the way, Mike Norvell, we may not be far away from having this same conversation about you. Because that 13-0 and that win over Alabama 5-6 weeks ago seems pretty far away. You need to get it together like now.
Fun fact for you, Noel fan. It's been 380 days since you've won a conference game. A conference game. You're in the ACC.
Whew.
Just saying.
Yep.
Getting late early.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But keep doing what you're doing and expect different results. You know, Florida State, you had one good year in the portal. Everybody hit. And you caught Alabama on a bad Saturday. You looked really good. How have you looked since?
And how have they looked since? By the way, Kalen DeBoer can now say, he just beat 3 ranked teams in a row, 2 of them on the road, which is very nice, by the way. I'm not trying to, dismiss it, but they're saying, that's something Nick Saban only did one other time. Yeah, how many times did Alabama play 3 ranked teams in a row? Honestly. I mean, now you got so many SEC teams ranked, okay? I mean, Nick might have faced a schedule like this if the whole conference had it together.
Right. I mean, the softball coach is used to taking on 3 ranked teams in a row.
Right.
because they rank all the teams in that conference too.
Right. Softball coach is like, that's not a big deal. I do that. He did that for 3 weeks. I do that for 3 months. What, are you kidding? But anyway, I just needed to say that. I need to get that out there. Okay. Florida, shift your attention. Billy Napier is dead man walking. You need to move on. You need to take down somebody else also, because he can't hire the right guy.
Miller and Moulton. We have put a poll question up already. It's about Penn State. Are the Nittany Lions just a coach away from being a national title contender annually? It's a simple yes or no. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. The starting five, that's next.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Max Saban was not fired by MSU. Saban left MSU for LSU. Just for what it's worth. He left. He went to a school where he knew he could win, where they were committed to football. And he was not going to be the second best team in the state. Speaking of guys that need to get fired, though, Jonathan Smith's pretty high on that list. Indiana may hang 70 on them on Saturday.
That's if they're highly motivated to play.
I don't even care if they're moderately motivated to play. They might hang 70 on them. Youngstown State moved the ball on Michigan State. Boston College moved the ball on Michigan State. I mean, UCLA looked like they were national champions against Michigan State. They had 31 at the half, I think.
What are you trying to say, Mark?
Wrong guy. And their problem's bigger than that because they're not committed to football. They still think basketball matters. The old coach still gets more money than the football program. And I'm sorry, Tom. You need to deliver.
Michigan State and Arkansas have the same thing going on right now. Okay, they're holding money back from the football programs for others teams on campus, which a part of me loves, but then you need to change your expectations.
No, Mel Tucker was a fraud. Mel Tucker had one good year because of one player. And I had a buddy who said it the whole time. When they paid him, my buddy was beside himself that they did. That was Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, who's a stud on Sundays. A stud. No one pays any attention because he's in Seattle. But that guy's good. Yeah, by the way, I do love that little that I text you, the bit my kid does on his podcast, the fraud alert.
I like that's got potential.
It really does.
On the 4 games we were different on so far, because we're different on both games tonight.
Yeah, 2-2.
We went 2-2, so we're still tied. We had a much better week, though.
Boy, I came close in my pick on that I do with for money of switching and going Seattle. And I did switch to the Chargers on one. And if I'd have gone Seattle, I'd be in the lead heading into tonight. But what are you going to do? It's the last time they were good, and no, you don't go back to that well. He's 100 years old. He couldn't coach in this era. I don't think he would want to. That's the other side of it.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Bill Bender, 1 hour from now, to talk about college football. Nothing to see or hear or talk about there, but we'll try to come up with something to talk with Bill Bender about 1 hour from now. There were some other sports going on this weekend. I say we update you on what happened in case you missed it, like maybe you had a wedding to go to or something. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
Normally we'd start with the NFL, but believe it or not, I'm going to start with college football. Whew. Penn State fired James Franklin after 3 consecutive losses, the last 2 to UCLA and Northwestern, when his team was favored by more than 20 points in both games. There's no team that has done that in the last 50-plus years. It's a $49 million buyout. Penn State said, we don't want to see your face on campus any longer. See ya. Bye-bye. So long. Farewell. UAB fired Trent Dilfer midway through his 3rd year, and Oregon State fired Trent Bray midway through his 2nd year. Oregon State's 0-7, which is funny because the guy who left Oregon State for Michigan State, we don't know how much longer he's going to have in East Lansing.
He may be back at Oregon State sooner than you think, David. At least there's a lot of people who hope so.
And there's a few people associated with that school who could make it happen in a phone call and a check. But that's another story. But then again, they seem more interested in the basketball team. As for the college football polls, there are 11 unbeaten teams still. 11. Ohio State, Miami, Indiana, your top three. A&M, Ole Miss, Bama, 4, 5, and 6 as the run of SEC schools starts. Texas Tech 7, Oregon 8, Georgia 9, LSU 10 in the AP top 10. 10 SEC schools in the top 25. 5 Big 10, 4 Big 12, 3 ACC, 2 in the American, including South Florida at 19th in the country. And, of course, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's up to 13. This is a very interesting thing. So Notre Dame has 2 losses. The teams that they've lost to, Mark, are currently ranked numbers 2 and 4 in the country. Illinois has 2 losses, Mark, and the teams they've lost to are currently ranked 1 and 3. Notre Dame's ranked 13th in the country, and Illinois is not ranked.
Yeah, Illinois did lose to one of those teams 56-10.
I understand, but one is 13th and the other is unranked. It shows you the power of the helmet and the school.
There's no doubt.
All we're saying.
No doubt. Literally
All
saw
we're saying.
something, and it's not just writers, it's people. So I saw someone make the case for Indiana to be ranked number 1. And one of the responses was, well, Indiana doesn't have pedigree. The hell does that have to do with what's happening in 2025? It doesn't mean a damn thing.
By the way, did you see the stat that came out yesterday about Indiana? So remember last year, Indiana and SMU got bids into the college football playoff, and none of the 9 and 3 SEC teams did. And Greg Sankey, took it as you expect he would. He was mad as hell, and he pouted and pounded his fist on the table and what have you. But he got the criteria. He got some of the criteria changed. He made sure that they came up with a new, more accurate formula that took strength of schedule and what have you into the process. Yeah. I think it's called SOR, Mark. Did you see who the number 1 team in the country is according to the formula that Sankey insisted that they come up with?
Would it be Indiana?
It would. Yes, it would. Come on now, that's rich. That funny.
Really is. It
we
really
know
is.
Miller
Well,
Moulton, no funny.
I mean, when some of your teams that you schedule are Washington State and you just get by.
That's considered a quality win, Mark.
North Texas put 59 up against Washington State.
Well, who was it? There's a Big 12 school that beat Washington State by 4 touchdowns, and they're not ranked. Right.
North Texas.
Right.
They're in the American. Put 59 up against them.
NFL, meanwhile, Baker Mayfield solidifying his MVP credentials, at least in the first third of the season. He threw 2 more touchdown passes, and it's who he threw them to that, to me, is most impressive, because he didn't throw them to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, or not even to the new standout Igbuka. No, because Evans and Godwin missed the game by injuries, and Igbuka was out of the game in the second quarter with a hamstring injury. Listen, I have no idea who he's going to throw to in Detroit a week from tonight, but he threw a touchdown to Cameron Johnson and to Tez Johnson when the game was on the line against the Niners. Tampa Bay beat San Francisco 30-19. Bucks are 5-1. Niners fall back into a first-place tie with Seattle and the Rams at 4-2. Awful, ugly injury for Fred Warner. Standout player, maybe a Hall of Fame player. Broken and dislocated right ankle. Clearly out for the rest of the season. Ugly and very unfortunate. Chargers blew a 13-point fourth-quarter lead. Tua, after throwing 3 interceptions, led him on 2 scoring drives, and he hit Darren Waller, who, listen, I dogged. Hated the signing. He was injured all training camp, missed the first 3 games of the year. He's been a weapon back in the lineup. He has.
You know what? He catches the ball when they throw it to him, because as much as I can tell you how bad the 2 interceptions were by Tua, the first one happened to hit their new number 1 receiver in the hands. And he said, here, Chargers, take it.
But Waller caught the go-ahead touchdown with 46 seconds to go, only to have the Chargers return the kick beyond the 40, and then Justin Herbert avoided a sack. And big pass play, Cameron Dicker, the kicker, with a 33-yard field goal, essentially at the gun, to beat the Dolphins 29-27. Chargers improved to 4-2, snap a 2-game skid. Miami falls to 1-5.
And he's still the coach.
And you wonder, is he going to make it to Madrid? That's the week I've got circled. Will he make it to Madrid? That's in about a month. Seahawks dominated Jacksonville at the line of scrimmage. They sacked Trevor 7 times. He was under pressure on over 50% of his dropbacks. That hasn't been done in over 3 years by anyone in this league. All right, they held the Jags to just 4 yards per play. Beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville 20-12. Both teams now 4-2. Listen, if you watched the game in Europe yesterday morning, on behalf of the National Football League, I would like to apologize. Not that they've given me that kind of authority. I just feel badly you can't get those 3 hours back. Okay.
I'm actually pretty happy we went to church at 10:30, David. I really am.
Yes. For all of you who badmouth the WNBA, there's no way the WNBA's product is worse than the Broncos and Jets, okay? It's not. Pick the league that you hate the most, all right? There's no way. The Jets had negative 10 yards passing net because they threw for 55 yards in the game, and Justin Fields was sacked 9 times for 65 yards and losses. So they're negative 10 yards passing, 82 yards total in the game, and they were winning late fourth quarter, 11-10, before the Broncos kicked a field goal to win 13-11. Mm-hmm.
I will say at the end of because I did watch the end of the game, and for the life of me, when you can't drop back and pass, why don't you try a 62-yarder? I'm serious. Like, I would have tried to kick the 62-yarder instead of try to move the ball anywhere, because they can't.
I agree. Denver's 4-2. The Jets, the lone winless team, at 0-6. Pittsburgh beat Cleveland in Pittsburgh for the 22nd straight time in the regular season, which is another reason why Cleveland shouldn't have gotten rid of Baker Mayfield, because remember, he went into Pittsburgh in the playoffs and beat the Steelers. But apparently that wasn't an accomplishment. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns. Steelers 23-9 over the Browns. Pittsburgh's 4-1. The Browns are 1-5. And it's getting warm under Kevin Stefanski's seat, even though it's not his fault. Cooper Rush, he had just 72 yards passing and 2 turnovers, so he got benched. Rams beat the Ravens 17-3. Green Bay got 2 Josh Jacob touchdown runs. Flacco threw for 219 and 2 scores. I think that's pretty impressive against a good defense, considering he showed up on the team Wednesday. But Green Bay beat Cincinnati 27-18. Carolina, Rico Dowdell was with the Cowboys last year, rushed for over 1,000 yards. Cowboys had no interest in keeping him. Dowdell anyway. He ends up as the backup in Carolina. He talked trash all last week at the Cowboys, said, I'm coming, and you're not going to be able to stop me. And the Cowboys were like, yeah. Well, he had 236 total yards, 183 rushing, 53 receiving. He caught a touchdown pass. Carolina, a field goal at the gun to beat the Cowboys 30-27. Carolina's 3-3. All right?
Yeah, they are.
They might be in second place in that division after tonight. Just saying. Colts, strange day in Indianapolis. We'll get to that, but Indy beats Arizona 31-27. Daniel Jones accounted for 3 scores. The Colts are 5-1. Drake May, 3 touchdown passes. The Patriots are 4-2. They beat the Saints 25-19. Raiders snapped the 4-game losing streak 20-10 over Tennessee. And last night, Mahomes accounted for 4 touchdowns, 3 of them passing, in a 30-17 win over the Lions. And then there was a fight after the game. Doubleheader for Monday Night Football, even though they don't like it being called that. But, well, there's 2 games on Monday night, basically aired by the same network. What would you call it? Buffalo's at Atlanta at 7:15. Bills are a 3.5-point favorite. That game's on ESPN. An hour later on ABC, the Bears and the Commanders will kick it off. Washington, a 5.5-point favorite. So 7:15 ESPN, Bills and Falcons. 8:15 ABC, Bears and Commanders. Tua questioned the leadership on the Dolphins after the loss. That's funny. I thought he was the quarterback and a captain. Colts lose Anthony Richardson to an orbital fracture pregame when he was stretching on a machine and the machine broke and the band hit him in the eye. He's going to need stitches as well. Riley Leonard is now the backup in Indianapolis. We mentioned the Bucs lost Egbuka to a hamstring injury, so they finished the game without Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, and Bucky Irving. Unbelievable. Garrett Wilson.
Not to mention they get 2 O-linemen out as well, but that's no big deal.
Garrett Wilson held to 13 yards receiving, and he injured a knee ligament, and he is not happy with the Jets. Baseball, Seattle won game 1 of the ALCS. Springer did start the game with a homer. Toronto had 1 hit the rest of the night. The big dumper homered to tie it. Then they got 2 more runs to win it. 3-1, Mariners take game 1. Game 2 is 5 o'clock later today on Fox and FS1. Game 1 of the NLCS in Milwaukee, 8 o'clock tonight, Dodgers and Brewers on TBS. There was a hockey game last night in New York. The Rangers still have not scored a home goal yet this year. They lost to Washington 1-0. Charlie Lindgren with 35 saves for the shutout. NASCAR, they were in Vegas. Denny Hamlin ties Kevin Harvick for 10th on the all-time win list. He won his 60th race. He wins in Vegas, secures a spot in the championship 4. Ross Chastain finished 23rd. Golf, Xander Schauffele, a winner in Japan on the PGA Tour. Meanwhile, in China, number 1 player in the LPGA, Jinu Thidakul from Thailand. She rallied to win in a playoff, her 2nd win of the year. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5. 5 big stories, and Denny Hamlin finding victory lane for the 60th time here on Miller and Moulton.
I always love the starting 5, so I know who won the NASCAR race the day before.
Yep.
Was it on USA?
I have no idea. That sport has become invisible.
Yes, it has.
It's
and when diehards have left it, they need to look at their problems. I mean, you were a big NASCAR guy. My son was a big NASCAR guy. Neither of you watch anymore. And it was just a couple of years ago that he was into it and doesn't pay any attention anymore.
And part of the problem is you don't know what network it's on week to week. Forget the whole time thing. If you don't know what network the race is on, that's a problem. Especially when you're competing with football. That's a problem.
We'll get back to talking football. Big weekend, Saturdays and Sunday. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best, Be Cape.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Think we only fix windows? Think again. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business does so much more to upgrade your home. We custom build stunning shower and bath enclosures, install sleek glass doors and windows, and can bring fresh life to foggy or cracked panes. Need a glass tabletop or a statement mirror? Yep, we do that too. If it's glass and it's in your home, we're the team to call.
Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah!
Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe, inside the Doubletree by Hilton. Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers, a classic sports bar with an outdoor deck. Then in October, we'll have all the playoff baseball. College football, they are home to the Ohio State fan club. NFL action, the start of both the NHL and NBA seasons. Never mind trivia, karaoke, bingo, all part of the entertainment package at Shoeless Joe's. Good food, good times, good sports. Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Puck, you know, at least I think you know what I said. I said it if you took the time to watch the Denver Jets game for 3 hours, then you can't ever complain about any other sports product. And you can't say, well, I don't watch that. The product's not good. You watch Denver and the Jets. You know what, Mark? You did luck out. You guys went to the late service. Usually you go to the earlier one, so that did work out well for you.
If you were talking to me, I didn't have your mic on.
I was just talking about how bad the Denver Jets product was, and I said that worked out well for you. You guys normally go to the earlier service, but you went later, and that worked to your advantage.
Yeah, it did. I had a big Saturday. My daughter had a sleepover. I was in charge of 2 11-year-olds, and I said, go play. I'm watching football.
There you go. That's the man in charge right there.
Wife worked all day. I said, how about you guys make Maddie, you want to make pizza rolls, right? Okay, why don't you make that for lunch?
No, Adam, the Jets do not fire Aaron Glenn. Now, he may fire his offensive coordinator at some point.
Yeah, we will. But DC, I don't think he said he wasn't calling a timeout. What he said was Auburn was clapping and it should have been a penalty and he shouldn't have had to call a timeout. The fact that they gave it, Auburn got jobbed in that.
Oh, numerous times. Oh my
That
goodness.
was a touchdown.
Yes, it was 17-0. Georgia loses. That they are going to win Auburn that game if they make the right call.
I mean, Ole Miss could have lost to Washington State and Georgia should have lost to Auburn. But The refs, I will say the Auburn AD yipping at the referees is a bad look. Don't blame him. Just a bad look. Can't have ADs on the sidelines yelling at officials at halftime. Although Florida fans probably going, I wouldn't mind to see our AD yell at somebody. Anybody.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Overreaction Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm in our nation's capital. One of 2 Monday night football games tonight. The late one is the Bears and the Commanders. The early one is the Bills and the Falcons. We'll get into those games later on in the show.
Any sightseeing yesterday at all? I know you got in pretty late, but the town at night is beautiful. So did you, I don't know where you are. I don't know how close you are to anything. Did you do any sightseeing in our nation's capital?
Not officially. But then again, I flew into Reagan, and to get out of Reagan, you're not that far from the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument. Okay. And where I'm staying, there are some views and so I took in a little, it was cloudy, misty, all right, last night, in the 50s. But from afar, Mark, from afar.
Yeah, I just thought you travel a lot. Your travel schedule's been interesting to say the very least, and you didn't red eye it to Washington, D.C. So I didn't know how your Sunday went.
Right. No, it was a very early wake-up call, particularly in Eugene, Oregon. But got in okay. And the power nap today will be legendary. I can assure everyone of that. If you have my cell phone, please don't call it between the hours of noon and 4. Please. I'm asking nicely. All right. There's 2 things I really want to talk about, and I think you want to talk about them both as well. So if you're the Auburn coach or AD, are you allowed to publicly eviscerate the conference you play in and the officials within it after the officiating that you have received now twice this year? Remember the Oklahoma 7-point play, which not only shouldn't have been, it should have been a 15-yard penalty on Oklahoma in a 7-point road loss, in which during the game the quarterback broke his hand and was playing through it. Okay, I mean, everybody wants to fire Hugh Freeze. Mark, how close is Auburn away from being 5-1? If they had had competent officiating this year, would Auburn be 5-1?
David, look at 4-2 at the very least, because you don't know what happens, and I don't like to do that. But they got jobbed once again against Oklahoma, and there were not just the fumble and not just the timeout. There were some PIs on that drive after the fumble that were questionable. It almost seemed, David, that the officials from the SEC wanted to make sure their highly ranked team continued to be highly ranked.
Well, and when people watching the game are feeling that way, That's a problem because obviously, and I do mean this, obviously, the officials are not bought and paid for. They're not favoring one team or another intentionally. They're not. All right. Gotten to know many of them over 18 years in the SEC. They take their job very seriously. They are good men trying to do a good job. They failed miserably Saturday night on the plains of Auburn.
Yes, they did. They clearly did. And I don't know. I mean, you've seen the replay.
That's a touchdown.
And how do the announcers say it's not? They end up the next day, not the announcers, but they end up by, and I don't know if it happened by Saturday night. By the time Sunday morning came around, there is a clear shot that they blew up, have the line going down, and as I think Hugh Freeze mentioned, any part of that ball has to cross the plane.
Touch the line.
It's not the entire ball.
No. Tip of the ball touches the start of the goal line. That's a touchdown. I thought Sean McDonough said it was a touchdown. I thought McElroy said, my gut tells me it's a touchdown too, but I don't know if there's enough evidence to back up the call. I will say McDonough lit the officiating on fire in the second half.
Yeah, he did.
Lit them on fire.
Now, the timeout play. I don't think Kirby was saying, I didn't call a timeout. What you could read his lips on the sidelines. He says they're clapping. They can't do that. He wanted a penalty.
Right. I think the booth got that wrong.
Yes, they did.
McDonough and McElroy got that wrong. They were saying that Kirby is clearly calling timeout, and now he's trying to talk his way out of it. No. He came running onto the field going, why do I have to call a timeout? They're clapping. They're simulating, okay, the clap. That's illegal. Trust me, I know about illegal. We're the ones that did that shift that they now have to outlaw, except for the Oregon-Indiana game, because Oregon did the shift all day. Indiana's linemen kept moving, and they called it on them 5 times. 5 times Indiana got procedure penalties when the Oregon linemen were doing the illegal shift. It was unbelievable.
So but they still, to give Georgia the timeout back is ridiculous.
Yes.
You either call the penalty for the, I guess, a defensive procedure. I don't know what the exact call there is. Is that
or delay a game? One or the other. Right. But or you give them the timeout, okay, and no penalty, but you charge them the timeout. They got to not have to burn a timeout and got a do-over with a new play clock. I mean, come on, that's absurd. Absurd. All right, that's the bad. Can we spend the next 5-6 minutes just stating what everyone knows, but I really don't think it is sunk in enough? Mark, the Indiana Hoosiers are really good at football. Football. They went to Oregon. They went on the road and beat a top 5 team in the country. They had never, ever done that in football. They did it in the place where the Oregon had the nation's longest home winning streak, one of the toughest places to play against a legit top 5 team in the country.
And they did it in a way that really none of us saw coming. At least I didn't, David, and I don't know about you. But if Indiana would have won that game 42-39 with that offense and what Cignetti's done offensively, I would have went, I'll be damned. They won. They were just as physical. They made plays on defense the entire game. They overcame a big interception and came from behind late in a game where first downs were at a premium. David, I didn't text you much during that game because I know that was a tight one. You were into it. But that was your football game. That's the kind of game you love. First downs were important. Defense was played at a really high level. It was very physical, and I'll be damned. David, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think Indiana was the more physical team. That shocked me.
Mark, officially, I think Oregon had like 64 yards of offense in the second half, but 23 of those yards were the final 30 seconds in garbage time after Indiana took a knee 3 times and gave the ball to Oregon just for the heck of it. Mark, for 29 minutes and 30 seconds, the Oregon offense had 41 yards in the second half at home, 41 yards. And from the moment the Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback threw the pick 6 and Outson is as loud as it can be, and it's 20 all, Indiana, Mark, was flawless in all aspects. They played flawless football over the final 13 minutes of that game. The offense, after the pick 6, got the ball back, methodically went down the fields over 7 minutes, 75 yards, touchdown. And the defense not only got 3 and outs, the defense got 2 interceptions. They literally played flawless football in the biggest moment of the year. You could argue in the biggest moment of Indiana football in 70 years.
They started doing polls in the 30s. In the 30s, Indiana had never beaten a top 5 team on the road. This is a problem for Florida and State.
It's everybody.
Name the damn school.
Now, Kurt Cignetti has made 80 coaches' lives suck.
And at least 100 athletic directors. Because I'm texting with my cousin yesterday, and he's, he is green and white all day long. He also graduated from there. I do this so I'm not as bad as I used to be. But you know what he said? If Indiana can do it, why can't we? And that's because Indiana Indiana's not a football program. Are you kidding me?
Tell you what, though, they got some players. This ain't smoke and mirrors. They went to Oregon, punched Oregon back. That was a heavyweight fight, and it was. And in the championship rounds, you know who punched more and punched harder? Indiana. Not saying they're going to win the Natty, okay, but I'm telling you, this is not last year's Indiana team. Indiana's team couldn't punch like that. Okay, they could punch, but they couldn't punch like that. They were more cruiserweight last year. That's a heavyweight football team. 7 sacks of a quarterback who had been sacked once all year.
Yeah, by the way, if I were voting teams in the country right now, and I'm not, but based on resume and what I've looked at, Miami would be 1, Indiana would be 2, A&M would be 3, and Ohio State would be 4. When it's all said and done, the Buckeyes may be the best team in the country. But come on, give credit where credit's due.
And you should listen to those IU kids talk about Cignetti. They basically are saying if he walked us to the edge of a cliff and told us to jump, we'd be like, yeah, sure, coach, no problem.
And Florida, you're already behind the 8 ball because if you're Penn State, you're giving that guy a blank check right now. I'm telling you.
And now Mark and I'll have our disagreement, okay, like we did via text last night because I said Cignetti's not leaving. And
right.
Mark's like, oh, you're such an idiot. You're love
so
you,
cute.
But you're so cute. Okay, you think
and
Golish is staying?
South Florida, too. This is so cute.
You should have saw our text chain last night.
Miller and Moulton. Indiana with the most impressive victory this year in college football?
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise. On 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family-owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeister's backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
When Glass Doctor replaces your windshield, we don't just send you on your way, we send you off protected. Your local Glass Doctor includes the industry's only 12-month windshield protection plan at no extra cost. That means unlimited chip repairs and even a one-time replacement if needed. High-quality service backed by real peace of mind, right here in your neighborhood.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah.
Exclusions apply. See your local Glass Doctor for
Your
details.
roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
By the way, I think the coordinator that you go get, if you're is Heartline worth going to get? I mean, no, but I'm just saying I mean, put it this way, I don't know who my Spartans can get when they fire Smith. I'd take him if he'd take the job, and I don't know if he would. Or do you just hire Pat Fitzgerald and call it a day? Wisconsin. Few others that. At this moment in time, the Steelers are only minus 125 to win the AFC North. The Ravens are only plus 140 to win the AFC North.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. It's a good thing that it's Monday and it's far enough removed from Friday night. Okay, because my co-host was in a lot of pain Friday night, early Saturday morning. A 15-inning deciding game of a baseball playoff series involving his team, and his team ends up on the losing end of it. And Miller and Moulton have a different definition of emptying the tank than I think, certainly than A.J. Hinch has, the manager of the Tigers. But if Scooble was on board with this, we have a different definition as well. See, our idea of emptying the tank is literally, I can't throw another pitch. That's our definition of emptying the tank.
What I found amazing, and I don't want to spend any time on this not because of it was Friday and we've moved on, and
but it was epic.
It was, and there were unbelievable plays. The double plays that were turned on both sides, the chances that both teams had, it was unreal.
Right.
It really was. I mean, throwing out runners stealing base, but Naylor steals third. It's the first time Scoobal's allowed a player to steal third all year. And then the announcers, after they took him out, were basically saying it was the right move. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head. And that Sarah Spain, who's a wonderful follow on X, she loves baseball more than anybody on the planet, talking about how this game is great. And I'm like, Sarah, I love your work, but it's not. This isn't great. It was great in extra innings, but what are you doing taking out a pitcher after 6 innings when you're going to lose him in a year's time tops?
Or 2 months. One
right.
or the other. Right.
So, and then they get a run in the very next inning to tie it. Would it have been different? I'd have pitched Scooble one more. If they wanted to take him out after 7, then you go to Vest, the closer, and you try to win. Now, I don't think they would have beaten Toronto anyhow, so it's a moot point, but it was disgusting to me in the moment. I think you were still flying when I was sending you rapid fire text in my disgust, because you joined me a little later when you hit the ground, and we text pretty much throughout the rest of the game. I mean,
right. I was following
that. I get up at 4:20 every morning. It was 1:15 when that game ended.
Right.
That was a long day.
Somebody near me had the game on their iPad, and I flat out said, "Do you mind if I just look over your shoulder?" And he was like, "No, that's fine." But I couldn't communicate with you.
Right.
Okay. So I was following the game, but I couldn't go back and forth with you. But anyway, that's just, many things happen over the course of a 72-hour, sports weekend. And I just wanted to get that off the chest, that we have a different definition of emptying the tank. Our definition is not 99 pitches, the last one being 101 miles an hour, okay, to strike out the big dumper, okay, when arguably their best hitter is leading off the next inning, and it's 3, 4, 5 in the batting order. And who do you want to, if you're going to get beat, so to speak, do you want to get beat with your pitcher, okay, tiring, the best pitcher of the American League, tiring, or do you want to turn it over to your middle relief, which had just given up runs in game 4 also? Anyway, I thought you wanted to hand the ball to your closer. You had already said your closer was going to go 6 outs. So you were 3 outs away from handing it to your closer. Don't you have to me, you have to leave Scooble out there. At least make him get a hit.
Yeah, that would be nice. Get someone, have the bullpen ready.
Yeah. But we're going pitch by pitch, batter by batter. But I ain't taking you out with a 2-1 lead. You're the
And
best
for
pitcher in
him
the
to
American
just feel
League.
good about the move that he made is disgusting to me.
That's us.
That's us.
All right.
I will say, I had, the young guys, the former producers were texting with me because Felipe likes baseball, and they were both beside themselves, and they don't know another way of baseball. So it is what it is. It's over for the Tigers, and we'll see if Scooble's on their rotation next year. Can I talk about a conference right now that is vastly underrated to me? When we look at rankings, and we're going to do Big Ten talk here with Bill Bender coming up. We'll get into the James Franklin situation. We'll obviously talk Indiana, Oregon, and the rest of the conference. Big USC Notre Dame game coming up this weekend. Playoff elimination game. Got it. But Texas Tech is right now ranked 7th in the country. Okay. You don't want to rank them ahead of Alabama or Ole Miss, whatever. If you win the conference, you're in. But when you look, and Georgia Tech's undefeated, an ACC team, and they're ranked like 12th in the country. But BYU, Utah, and Cincinnati are all ranked. I'm telling you right now, would you want to play Utah if you were Ole Miss?
Well,
Cincinnati's some bad decisions away from being undefeated.
Right.
I think the Big 12 is getting just pushed to the side right now because they're the Big 12. And I think the football in that conference is better than it's getting credit for. Georgia Tech, while I love them and I picked them to go to the ACC title game, they've not really beaten anybody. That Clemson win doesn't look that great anymore. They've had a bunch of close games against a bunch of average teams. Utah got beat by Texas Tech. Texas Tech looks like they're pretty good.
Well, right now, though, the Big 12 is also suffering from, A, they're not getting the best TV time slots. Okay. Number 2, they're the Big 12, and the sport is viewed as 2 conferences and no one else. 3, everybody's quarterback's getting hurt, Mark. Even Texas Tech lost their quarterback in the win over Kansas on Saturday, and we don't know his status going forward. Utah had their quarterback hurt. Okay, before the Texas Tech game. Arizona State got whacked over the weekend. Why? Their quarterback didn't play. They can't keep their quarterbacks healthy right now, which, let's face it, part of the reason that the Big Ten and SEC are as loaded as they are, especially the Big Ten. Look at the quarterback play in the Big Ten. And, oh, by the way, not that we count them anymore, but Drew Aller lost for the year due to an injury. Quarterbacks are getting hurt on Saturdays, maybe not at the rate they get hurt on Sundays, but a lot of quarterbacks are getting hurt on Saturdays. And that shouldn't be surprising because they run more on Saturdays than they do on Sundays.
And you're going to have to sell me on SEC quarterback play. I guess, when you're talking about the Big 12, sell me on SEC quarterback play right now. Where are the great quarterbacks in this league? And I'm serious. I get that they have the best players. I get the most guys will get drafted out of the SEC. I have never once said anything other than the SEC is the best conference in the land. But you're going to have to sell me on great quarterback play in that conference.
Well,
where is it?
It was supposed to be better than it's been right now. Mateer got hurt. Okay.
And boy, did they bring him back too soon.
Yeah, that's it.
He was rusty. Those interceptions were bad.
Yeah. Obviously, Arch is not what everybody thought he would be at this point. Okay.
Nuss is nothing special.
Well, Nuss, I think it's pretty clear.
Their line's awful.
Well, also, do you think Nuss is having a Quinn Ewers type year in which Quinn was hurt? Okay. And they basically didn't tell us all year. Okay. Because there's a lot of whispers coming out of Baton Rouge that Nuss is hurt. And let me tell you, he's playing like it. And their offense is performing like it. Because if we had known the LSU defense was going to be this good, okay, I think a lot of us would have, guaranteed they'd be in the playoff and might have picked them to do some real damage in it.
I mean, LSU, the 10th best team in the country right now? Come on. Come on.
Iowa State's quarterback's hurt. Okay, another Big 12 quarterback that got hurt, and the team has faltered because of it. Got to get their quarterbacks healthy if they're going to have a chance of getting more than just one team in the playoff.
Miller and Moulton. Bill Bender, coming up on the other side, had an interesting column that he put out yesterday about Penn State and who they actually are. We'll ask that question next.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Todd and I are local. We're involved in our community. We live here. We work here. We're in our showroom every day. We love working with our guests. We love giving back to our community.
We are so excited about our new store. Same location, same team, new environment. Every day is like a grand reopening. Absolutely stunning when you walk through our doors now. Come experience the newness of the Diamond District. See what we've done.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or nolanagency.com. American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise. On 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You were 4-4, right, David?
Yes. Yes, I was.
In case anybody was wondering, I was 2-3.
1-1 on Friday, 2-2 on Saturday, 1-1 on Sunday. Very consistent in my 4-4.
And I hate to say it, you've got a couple of wins that helped you. Like last week, South Florida win. You get that. You have to take the UCF backdoor.
Totally. Got to take the backdoor cover loss.
And they went for 2, which almost gave you a shot to cover.
It's going to covered by a half.
I'm watching that laughing. I'm like, no, they're not going for 2. Yes, they are.
Then I'm worried Missouri down 4 is going to try the same stunt and go for 2 and make it so that a field goal
should have
win.
Never even been close.
I know.
Alabama should have had them in the second half. That was a bad fumble, but what are you going to do? You got to get rid. The announcers were right there. You got to go down. You got to get rid of the ball. You held it too long. Missouri played well. A fun game.
By the way, how about South Florida trying to give that game away and still going into the locker room tied?
I did not see much of that first half. I don't even know what I was doing. I didn't even have it on. I was Tiger pre-gaming.
Yeah, I think yes. Then they came out, scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter, and basically the route was on.
Wow, was it ever?
I didn't understand that line. You looked at who each team had played. It was very different resumes. I didn't understand that.
I will say it was funny. My headsets were done. I went and worked out early Sunday morning. So no one's in the gym that I work out at. So I put the TV on and I put college football final on. And they, of course, broke down the Kent State UMass game. And even I forgot which one, said, hey, the level of competition that Kent State's played is far superior than what UMass has played this year. They had to be looking at UMass going, thank God. That was your bet of the year right there. That was your 45-unit play.
See, that was picking them in your suicide pool and having everybody look at you and go, oh, no. And you're like, what? It's like, oh, yeah.
Michael, I know you only want to talk Broncos all the time, but how many excuses are you going to make for Bo Nix? Like, seriously, he's not been good. He cannot throw a deep ball. He missed open guys in that game. He does not hit deep passes at all.
Tell you what, Michael, if it wasn't for his fourth quarter performance against the Eagles, there'd be some real grief going on for him.
And they got a bunch of easy games, but they're going to screw one of these up, I'm telling you.
That defense is really good, though. Took them 2-3 weeks, get their feet wet and what have you, but they're the defense we thought they'd be.
He is on.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes before the hour. Normally, we do not have guests on Overreaction Monday. There's so much to talk about. We don't need them. But college football went overboard this weekend, including their actions yesterday with 3 coaches being fired. And we desperately reached out to Bill Bender, who covers the sport as well as anybody for the Sporting News. Follow Bill on X at BillBender92. Bill, help us. Indiana is really good at football. And Penn State fires James Franklin when 16 days ago they were a play away from maybe being number 1 in the country.
You know, they were in a tie game with Notre Dame with 5 minutes left in the college football playoff semifinals last season.
Driving, Bill. I was at the game. They were driving.
I can't. So imagine we fire a basketball coach for making the Final Four, and they were in a tie game with 5 minutes left. I understand the frustration. I understand all that. I was at the Oregon-Penn State game a few weeks ago. I think they made an emotional decision based on these last 2 losses. And it doesn't – if college football truly is going toward the NFL, like – in a column yesterday, Mike Tomlin's not getting fired. Nick Sirianni's not getting fired if the Eagles lose in the first round. So – I don't agree with the move yesterday.
All right, here our poll question today is a pretty simple one. And I think your article yesterday maybe explains this, the answer that I think you're going to give. But is Penn State just a coach away from being a national title contender annually. And that means not just going to the playoffs, but you know what I mean, a team that you think about at the beginning of the year that they could win it all every year. Are they just a coach away?
No. And that's my point. Like, how can you say you're a national powerhouse if you haven't won a national title in 40 years? Like, or even played for one. I mean, at least Notre Dame can say, hey, we've played in 2 title games and they didn't go well, but I think Notre Dame is getting closer to that. Whereas, you know, and maybe a little bit of it's growing up in Central Ohio and being a little bit of a Big Ten snob, but they came into the Big Ten in 1994 and they've won 4. It's not like they're winning the Big Ten every year. They're a very good program. They do compete with Michigan and Ohio State, and I respect that. But I don't look at them as, if they hire Matt Rule, they face the same challenges that James Franklin did.
Don't you think, though, Bill, that, and we're talking with Bill Bender of the Sporting News, follow him on X at BillBender92, that Penn State is saying what Georgia said 10 years ago, we're tired of 10-win seasons. We want the next level, and we know this is a risk, blowing out Mark Richt, but we're going to take the risk. And don't you think that's what Penn State is saying here? This could backfire. Look at Nebraska, USC, Miami, stuff like this has backfired, but that Penn State's like, and a major sponsor came in and said, we're willing to back you financially, that take the risk.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. And you bring up a fair point. Like, I was probably on the side of why would they fire Mark Richt 10 years ago at Georgia. I was probably the guy saying that. In fact, I probably wrote that. And they did get Kirby Smart, and they've dominated ever since, and the rest is history. But I think there's more examples of the latter. I've kind of compared it to Michigan and Lloyd Carr, where they were really in a rush to push Lloyd out the door after the App State loss, and then they were just an average program for 7 years. And I think Michigan's a very comparable program to Penn State in a lot of ways. They wanted to push Jim Harbaugh out in 2020. And they were patient, and it worked. But look at them now. Like, Michigan the last 2 years is looking at, okay, they are 12-7 since Harbaugh left. So, yeah, it's very risky to get rid of a coach that wins 10 or more games every year.
And it's interesting because Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan State have played for more Big Ten titles since they've put a title game in than Penn State. Northwestern's played for as many. I'm just saying it doesn't always work that way. All right, if you're Penn State, and I know Rule's brought up, to me, Signetti's the guy. He has changed how college football is looked at and what you can do in a short time. If you're Penn State, are you calling Signetti and trying to get him at any cost to come to coach in Happy Valley?
Yeah, but I don't know if he'll say yes. I mean, I don't know what the number is, and he has proven, because I think he's not going to bring a bunch of transfers over. I mean, guys will play for him. And if I'm Kurt Signetti and I'm 63 years old, I don't know if I'm leaving, because I'm already competing for the playoffs. They're better. They're number 3 in the country. So why would he? If the answer is money, I guess you leave. But he's doing everything he needs to do at Indiana. I watched them Saturday. They're impressive, and they're getting people to come there. And people are going to want to play for him because he's a good coach. So if it's hey, we'll give you X $million, sure. But keep in mind, they're paying a $49 million buyout to James Franklin. So apparently money isn't an issue here.
Bill, can we just talk about Indiana? Because we have a tendency to talk about the negative. Can we just talk about, as you said, you grew up in Big Ten country. You went to college in Ohio. You live in Ohio. Indiana is kicking butt in football, Bill. I mean, can we wrap our heads around this?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm always quick to point out that Bob Knight's from Ohio, too. He played Ohio State. And that was, it's funny. That was the rivalry. In some ways, growing up, Ohio State, Indiana basketball games were so fun to watch as a kid. Even into the early 90s with that rivalry there. They're doing what Bob Knight used to do. They're driving people crazy because Kurt Signetti is talking in the post-game interviews, and he's kind of ornery. And their run defense is nasty. They went to Oregon and won. I can't understate that. And their rushing offense is awesome. Fernando had the bad pick on Saturday, but he's perfect for their offense. And I put them at number 3 in my Super 16 poll with no hesitation. I think they're that good. And they're on a short list of teams that I actually think, I don't think they would beat Ohio State, but I think it would be fun to watch for 4 quarters. And we're probably going to get to do that in the Big Ten championship game.
All right. USC, they destroyed Michigan. I didn't see that coming. I thought that would be a much better game. And USC now has Notre Dame. How close is USC to being in the same area code as Indiana and Ohio State?
I think close, and I watched that Michigan game too. Some of that's just West Coast travel stuff with the Big Ten. Michigan looked slow on the defensive side, which was surprising. Lincoln Riley, they shredded. They've got a really good quarterback in Jaden Mayava. They've got a strong running game. Mekhi Lemon's one of the best receivers in the country, all of the above. And here they are with an opportunity to go to South Bend. The winner of that game is going to be in business as far as playoff and all that kind of stuff. The loser's probably out. So you're adding a little bit of an elimination game feel to an already awesome rivalry, and I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Bill, how worked up do you get with the polling before, say, a week or two from now when the committee comes out, later at the end of this month, I think it is, with their own polls? How worked up do you get? The Illinois folks are saying, well, we have 2 losses to the numbers 1 and 3 team in the country, and we're unranked, and Notre Dame has 2 losses to the numbers 2 and 4 team in the country, and they're ranked 13th. The Big 12's arguing about what they're arguing about. Do you get worked up about this stuff?
No, I think it's fun. I like projecting out and kind of seeing what I think is going to happen at the end of the road. I think a couple things to watch. I projected out the entire SEC or Big Ten and SEC races last week, and part of that was like Oregon's going to go 12-0. So that's already blown up. To me, the playoff picture kind of shakes out like this right now. I think you'll get, if Notre Dame beats USC, I think they'll get in at 10-2. The SEC will get 4 teams in, maybe 5. The Big Ten will probably get 3 teams in, maybe 4 at most. The ACC, I think one of the problems the ACC could run into is like if Georgia Tech goes 11-0, which is possible, then loses to Georgia, then loses the ACC championship game, are we going to leave them out? I really like their team around Haynes King. And then a Big 12 is probably a 1-bid league. Although it is a very exciting league. I stayed up and watched that BYU-Arizona game the other night. It was awesome.
One of the other fun stories in the Big Ten is what UCLA did. They beat Penn State, and look, at Michigan State's a hot mess, but they went into East Lansing and destroyed Sparty. Is this just a change of calling plays? I mean, they got beat by New Mexico, for crying out loud, and looked bad in doing so. And now they're scoring 40 points a game. What the hell's going on there?
Yeah, I wish I had hair like Jerry Neuheisel.
Don't we all?
I mean, that's the secret right there. You got hair like that, and then you can call the plays. It's a marriage, but you know what the difference is to me? It's a little bit of the marriage between him and a 5-star quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. He put him in positions to make plays against Penn State, and he looked like a 5-star quarterback. And then obviously they do it again this weekend, and what a turnaround that could be. I think Jerry Neuheisel, he's obviously has coaching in his blood. One of my favorite moments of the entire season was Rick Neuheisel's reaction to Penn State, beating Penn State, and it's fun doing that. Anybody that has a kid knows how that feels. So, he's a high riser, and they should continue to maybe turn their season around, and good for him.
Bill, would you hire Pat Fitzgerald no matter the university? because, he's out there. He's been cleared. He's been publicly cleared. Northwestern had to admit they screwed up, and they, for lack of a better word, screwed Pat Fitzgerald. Okay. Pat Fitzgerald might have gotten the Notre Dame job 3+ years ago, if not for this. I mean, he's out there, and I'm wondering who's going to bite.
I hope so. He's 50 years old. You look at what he did at Northwestern, they were always competitive. They had, when you coach at Northwestern, you're going to have years like he had. You would have they had the 1-11 year at the end, and maybe it had run its course, but I know he is a unbelievably nice guy, unbelievably good coach. And the circumstances that happened, I mean, he did get cleared. That question will get asked whenever or wherever he's hired. I think he belongs in the Big Ten. I think there are two programs in the Big Ten. If Rule and Signetti say no, Penn State should make that call next. Being honest, he would be able to do that, I think. And then if not there, Wisconsin might be popping up soon, and Iowa at a certain point. When Kirk Ferentz retires, he would be the guy I would go after, like somebody like him.
And his son's a walk-on at Iowa, so he's been kind of hanging around, helping out as a volunteer in and around Iowa for the last year because of it. Bill Bender covers sports, but with a focus on college football, and he does it as well as anybody at sportingnews.com. Follow Bill on X at BillBender92. Bill Bender 92. Bill, I know you're taking the kids to school. Thanks for making time for us. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, guys. I'll talk to you next time. We'll do it again soon.
Bill Bender
Absolutely.
Of the Sporting News, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
One of the really good guys out there. Bill not only is a great writer and covers the sport really well, he's a super guy, and he says no never. By the way, I mean he says yes, not just us. You follow his X account. He does a lot of interviews.
Jerry Jones thinks Bill Bender does a lot of interviews. All right, we're just saying. Would you hire Pat Fitzgerald, by the way? Michigan State. Would you hire Pat Fitzgerald?
Right now.
Wisconsin?
Yes. Because that's not working for Fickle there.
No,
it's not working. I mean, I just realized that when I pulled up the Big Ten championship. You know who's played for the most Big Ten championship games? Ohio State and Wisconsin.
Now you got to remember, though, we did the whole leaders, legends.
Yeah,
East,
but they
West.
were the best team on that side every year.
They were, but that's why I think it's a little misleading when you say that so-and-so played for more titles than Penn State. Well, Penn State had to go through Ohio State and Michigan. Okay,
Michigan State's played for more titles than Penn State. They were on the same side.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I'm sorry. You want to hit me with facts? I'll come right back at you.
Well, that's why D'Antonio boring, not a good interview, hell of a coach.
Oh, it's the glory years of that program since the 60s, for crying out loud. Miller and Moulton talking a little Big Ten there. We'll switch gears, talk a little NFL next hour. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Football season is back and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you.
This is Miller and Moulton.
All right, fam, it's a great question. I think it depends on the program. This is where my bias, for as much as I love Golish, I hate that offense at the highest level. Like, I don't think Tennessee's ever going to do. I don't think Tennessee's ever going to be consistently top 10 with that offense. I don't. I think they can win 9-10 games, be exciting, the whole deal. They'll have big wins. That's my bias against that offense. And I know if their quarterback didn't get hurt 3 years ago, they probably make the playoff and all that. I get it. So
F the Chargers, Michael. F the Chargers. And Moulton's the Mariners guy. I don't know where you keep coming with me that's a great weekend. They beat my favorite team in baseball, Michael. It was a horrible weekend for me. I'm a Tigers fan. That's the only team in baseball that I actually give a damn about. The next closest team that I care about are the Tampa Bay Rays.
I have to admit, there are a lot of you that get us confused in what we say.
I picked the Rangers. David picked the Mariners. Now, I loved the moves the Mariners made at the deadline and thought that was going to help get them in the playoffs.
Excuse me.
And maybe if the team I root for would have gotten a bat at the deadline, things may be different right now. Or maybe if they would have just left their starter in for the seventh inning. I don't know.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home on this Overreaction Monday, at least in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, and Southwest Florida. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Final hour of the show, live Oak Lake City, surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice, and surrounding areas. Thanks so much for being with us. Our poll question today, very simple. It's a yay or a nay. Do you think Penn State is a coach away from being elite? Basically, did James Franklin do a very good job, but we're trying to be great here, and if they got the right coach, they would be? Or, yeah, James Franklin did a hell of a job. You guys are going to regret this.
And the odds tell you that they'll regret this. It has failed more times than it has worked when you've gotten rid of the coach that was successful, but not as successful as you wanted him to be. That's what history shows. For every Kirby Smart, there's a ton of guys who failed after the, really good coach, if you will. Text line is always open. Pelican Roofing of Florida text lines, 21,000 the number. Miller is the keyword if you've not texted the show before, 21,000, and then Miller if you've not texted the show before. Would love to get your input on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line. Pelican Roofing of Florida, 1-866-9-PELICAN, 1-866-9-PELICAN. Statewide, commercial, residential, your roofing champion. One of the texts we got on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line says, how in the world did James Franklin get fired before Billy? Also, could you imagine the betting odds on that before the season started?
Staggering. Bill Bender, who we just had on a little while ago, brought up Lloyd Carr. Mark, this is probably, at least off the top of my head, the best comparison. And I know we're going to talk NFL here coming up, but just to put this to bed for now. Remember, never mind the fact that, Lloyd was there when they shared the Natty in 97, but then in 06, Michigan, Ohio State were considered the two best teams in the country most of the year. They were both undefeated when they played, 36 hours after Bo's death in an epic 35-31 game, I believe was the score in Columbus. And the thought was these two should have a rematch, but that was an elite Michigan team. Could have easily played for and won the Natty, right? Now they end up losing to USC in the Rose Bowl. We all know Florida played Ohio State, and the rest is history. And then the very next year, opening day, what happens? Michigan loses to App State, and Lloyd was done at the end of the year. I mean, that was a year, think about it. He's playing Ohio State in arguably the biggest Michigan-Ohio State game ever. Okay, and a year later is essentially they're like, Lloyd, please leave. and he had won him a natty. I mean, so, and then that led to Rich Rod, and then, which led to, Brady Hoke, and, who had moments, but, and then what happened? It took Jim Harbaugh, it took 15 years to get back to where they were with Lloyd.
Right. And that's not even, that's not the end game for Harbaugh when he finally won it, just to get back to where they were with Lloyd Carr.
Right. So.
And they wanted Harbaugh out a couple of different times and ended up not doing it.
Right. As Bill mentioned, they wanted him out right before he began his run. Right.
By the way, at this point next year, and I know we don't talk about a Michigan football on this show, how close are we to saying Sharon Moore is next?
Oh, a year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He'll get a 2-year grace period, and he got Underwood and the whole deal. But no. They got to make.
He didn't get Underwood. The booster got Underwood.
Well, whatever. I mean, but
it's not like at Florida, where Lagway is completely connected with Napier, that it was Napier's guy, and if they lose Napier, they're losing Lagway. They're not losing Underwood if they lose Moore. That's the only difference there. That's the reason I brought that up.
And that's true. However, I do think this is something we all have to take into consideration going forward. Okay, yeah, the boosters, though, paid the money for Underwood. Why? Because they were all in with the coach and the program. Boosters withhold money, okay, when they don't believe in the coach and they don't believe in the program. Okay, they withhold the money. You don't get that top recruit. It's like, no, I'm going to sit on this money till you fire him. Then I'm going to give you the money for my guy. So they're still in, but I think a year from now, if Michigan looks like they're not going to make the playoff, yeah, Sharon Moore's in a whole lot of trouble.
All right. Let's switch gears and talk about yesterday, because there's a lot to talk about just here in the state of Florida.
Yes, there is.
The Bucks do it again. And in a league where all we seem to talk about are how injuries affect a team, Tampa Bay keeps winning despite being a mash unit. They're down their top, 4 receivers now?
Well, certainly 3. Okay, but you could argue the guy who hurt his neck in the preseason and is out till at least week 9. Yes. Okay, and never mind the fact, and they're out their top running back.
And they have a lineman that's done for the year. One that's coming back. And yeah, Wirfs is now back, allowing the kid at Barton there to move back to his natural position,
right,
which helps them out. But they're still winning and still scoring and still looking like a potent offense. It's remarkable.
It is. And Baker right now should win the MVP. I mean, nobody in the NFC has a better record than Tampa Bay Bucks. And that's all that matters in the NFL. This ain't about style points. This ain't about, if we did a poll right now, if the NFL was playing by the same rules as college football, do we think the Tampa Bay Bucks would be ranked number 1? Or do we think people would go, yeah, I still think Buffalo's better. I still think the Eagles are better and the Eagles beat them. No. But in the NFL, the only thing that counts is the standings. They're 5-1. There's nobody in NFC's 5-1. In fact, so far, until tonight, when the Bills have a chance to be 5-1, there's only one other team in the league that's 5-1. The Indianapolis Colts.
Which, by the way, just quickly, has there ever been a more Anthony Richardson injury than what happened yesterday? He broke his orbital bone while getting ready for the game when a band snapped and hit him in the eye.
Apparently, it was attached to the machine, and the machine broke. All right. But yes, it hit him in the face, broke his orbital bone, also cut him. He's going to have some stitches. Yeah. There's injury prone, and then there's working out in the team's weight room injury prone.
Wow. That is something.
Golly, feel badly for the guy.
And, we talk about the NFC, and what Seattle went and did yesterday was impressive. I mean, Jacksonville has been good. Their defense has been fantastic. Their defense was still pretty damn good yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
It really was. But they didn't get the thing they've been getting, the turnovers.
Yep. Sam had been a turnover machine in his last 2 games. Sam realized, yeah, I can't do that this week. He didn't. And then his defense outperformed Jacksonville's. Not by much, but they did. And Seattle with a very solid road win.
But the kid they trade for gets burnt on a big play to Smith. Know.
Another Ohio Smith in Gigba there.
There you go. Thank you.
I know I didn't pronounce that right, but I knew you would know who I was talking about.
And that's good enough for all of us.
Right. If we just said another Ohio State receiver in the NFL, would that be enough?
But we got a text earlier in the show, and we talked a lot of college earlier, and I wanted to bring it up because he didn't think that Trevor was bad. He said, he talks about the drops again. And they do have some of the leading drop guys in the league. At the end of the day, Trevor was running for his life. But I don't like the way he throws the ball, David.
I know you don't. I mean, don't.
There are too many throws that are there that he just misses. And he did it again yesterday. And he was under duress the whole game. So if this were the first time, I would say, okay, I'll cut him a break. But in order to negate that pass rush, some of the simple throws have to be connected on. They have to be connected on in stride so the receiver can run or the running back can run after the catch. And he doesn't do that. But at the line of scrimmage, wow, Jacksonville had been able to run it. 2 games in a row now, they've been able to go nowhere with the running game, David. How concerned should the Jags be about their lack of running game?
Concerned because what teams are clearly doing is saying to Trevor Lawrence and company, beat us. We don't think you can. We're going to load up, take away Etienne. I mean, they only attempted 19 rushes yesterday. Okay. And actually, you could argue they only attempted 16 because Trevor Lawrence ended up carrying it 3 times. I don't know how many of those were planned rushes or him just running because he was harassed all day and it turned into rushing carries. Meanwhile, they attempted over 40 passes. So the run-pass ratio has also gotten out of whack, Mark, these last 2 weeks. They got away with it against Kansas City, throwing the ball 70% of the time yesterday when they had the early lead, by the way. That I think Liam Cohen's got to own some of that. But, Mark, I will say this.
And he did, by the way. I mean, he stepped up to the microphone after the game because they're still getting plays in late. There are still some problems with, they had a big play, Hunter's lined up offside. That can't happen.
No, it can't. Their pre-snap penalties are staggering. But I'll say this, Mark, and I know he's not your guy, and he's not an elite quarterback by any stretch. Don't even know if he's a very good one consistently. But in the past, Trevor Lawrence, who was pressured on 55% of the snaps, the highest pressure rate any team has had in that league in 3 years. And he attempted over 40 passes, no turnovers.
Nope.
That Trevor of past years would have thrown 2 picks in that game. So I do think that part is progress. And the only pick he threw against Kansas City was pass interference that wasn't called. So I do think in that sense, Mark, he's getting better. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Vote in our poll question.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122. or NolanAgency.com.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeister's backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
By the way, I don't know how much of last night you watched, but I don't think the Lions were winning that game anyhow. But when the game's still in play and Hutch hits Mahomes late, 2nd and 10, they get it incomplete. That was just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Dumb.
Not only that, of all the quarterbacks, I mean, when in doubt, you can't touch him.
Exactly.
I mean, the refs put him in bubble wrap, for goodness sakes, especially in the pocket. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but Adam, I know you're disappointed, but come on now. 4-2. Got to take it. Went through the at San Francisco, home for Kansas City, home for Seattle stretch 2-1. Yeah. I don't know. See, fam, when you make a move like this, you almost wonder who's the coach that everybody, and you have to appease Adidas here too, because Adidas is who forced James Franklin out when they did. Because Adidas is apparently paying off the $49 million.
Hey, did you get that? You got that email that I sent? I'm going to have you do those spots for Lee County.
You want to do it after the show?
We can do them after the show, or we can do them before the show tomorrow, whichever you prefer.
How about we do them before the show tomorrow? Because I'll write them out.
They're already written. They're
well,
actually,
but
okay.
They're way too long.
Are they? All right.
The one really needs to be edited down. The one's almost a 60. So Adidas signed Penn State beginning next year, and Penn State already announced the deal at the beginning of the season. And it's considered a really big deal to Adidas. And the word is that Adidas said to the, AD, because the AD is like $49 million, man. Because I think Penn State was going to pull Franklin aside and say, listen, go find another job.
Yep. And by the way, if I'm Franklin, I'd say no, fire me, because it's 49 million or 2 million.
I
Fire.
understand. I know.
I would double bird them all day long. That's a joke. You were a disgrace of a program when I got here. Pay the man his money.
But Franklin was asked after the game, do you still want to be the coach here? And he didn't say yes. So if I'm Penn State, I would have waited him out. But and I think Penn State said that to Adidas. They said, no, we'll wait this out. It's 49 million. And Adidas said, we got it. Or we got 40 of it.
Which is ridiculous, by the way. Ridiculous.
At which point they're like, oh, well, in that case, because everybody's loving the AD for having the guts to pull the trigger in Happy Valley. They're thrilled with him.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a lot going on that's right there. You know, volleyball, wrestling, hockey. I mean, they got a lot going on at Penn State that they're all happy about. So this only helps the AD's case.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So I know you and I, first off, you and I would have pulled the trigger after last season. We would have moved on with the Dolphins' current regime. We would have moved on. But obviously they didn't. So my question for you is, does it matter when, Mark? Does the timing matter at all? Do they wait until after the Madrid game, okay, and then get rid of him mid-November before the final 6 games of the year? Or do you they go to Cleveland Sunday? Is it possible the losing coach gets fired?
It is. And David, the only reason that I would do it sooner than later is before do they go to Madrid the following? No,
it's November.
That's the Washington game, right?
Right. They've got Cleveland.
They've got the Ravens at home. They've got another home game, a nationally televised home game.
Right. It's a Thursday night.
That will be empty. That the planes will be flying with the Fire Greer and Fire McDaniel signs behind them. Fans will have bags on their heads. I can't have that look nationally. I'm just saying. It would have been already done by me.
Okay.
It would have been done because apparently, I don't know what Ross cares about anymore, but I would think he cares about how many people show up for his games. Well,
and West Coast Dolphin in a Twitch chat room said, me and my son went yesterday. Place was empty.
Oh, yeah. I had a son.
Because remember, the Chargers aren't bringing a big crowd with them.
Nope.
So the people there are there for the home team. Mm-hmm. Here's my question, because a lot of Anthony Weaver's a defensive coordinator. Anthony Weaver's interviewed for like 5 jobs. Anthony Weaver was a finalist for a job this offseason. I mean, Anthony Weaver is highly thought of. That defense is not performing.
No, it's not.
And how much of it?
And I know Justin Herbert's tough to bring down. I get it. I think they had 1 sack yesterday. In the biggest moment of the game, they couldn't get him to the ground. He throws the pass to McConkey, and he's gone. And that ends up setting up the game-winning field goal. 1 play, they win that game. They couldn't make a play on defense. Their defense is a mess.
How much of it?
3rd or a 4th-string running back, whatever you want to call the kid from the Chargers, again run for over 100 yards. They've had 0 pass rush this year. 0. Chubb is the only guy that is coming close to expectations from a sack standpoint. Everyone else on that defense, Job Robinson, he's gone the other way. Everybody has gone the other way. That was supposed to be the strength of the team. David, just to compare them to another bad team. Your Giants. Your Giants are competitive in games because they're young pass rushers and their pass rush still gets to the quarterback. Makes you a competitive team. We thought heading into the season that was the strength of the Dolphins defensively. It's the worst part of their defense.
So are we blaming Weaver or are we blaming Greer because he gave him a bad roster to work with? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, the secondary's outside of Minka, and Minka's above average, good. I don't know if he's great or very good anymore, but he's definitely a good player, right? How many other good and above players do they have on defense? So, because there were a lot
we
like
them all wrong, or David, I'm sorry, is this somewhat, and I know he's not the defensive coach, but is this still on McDaniel for the culture that he sets, the player-friendly coach, and the players just, whatever reason, don't respond to this guy, and they're not playing hard for him?
Well,
now,
I disagree. See, that's another reason. Like, I don't like to fire coaches when I think the team is still playing for the coach. You can't say the Dolphins aren't playing for all their coaches. They were down 13 in the fourth quarter yesterday and overcame it and took a lead with under a minute to play. I mean, I think they're playing. I just don't know how good they are. That's on the GM.
Yes, it is.
Also, they've lost 4 games late this year in their 1-5 start. I mean, how much of that is coaching? How much of that is just it's a 5-12 roster disguised by a team that's had 5 seasons in a row where they've won 8 or more games?
I've watched Carolina come back. Whose roster's better, Carolina's or Miami's?
I don't know if the Dolphins roster's better.
Okay.
It probably is. It should be, but I don't know how much it is. But I get your point. I mean,
we thought Seiler was good a couple of years ago. All of a sudden he's no good. Is it post-injury and he just can't play? I don't know.
Clearly, since it hasn't happened yet, the thought is Mike McDaniel's going to get to coach Sunday in Cleveland. I'm wondering if Loser gets fired. First off, I think Stefanski at this point would love to be fired. I mean, I don't know if you caught him last week, but when they traded Flacco and he was asked about it, he said he wasn't told about it. I mean, that's a cry for help from an NFL head coach right there. That's don't blame this on me, what's going on with this organization.
Yeah, that's a team I feel bad for their defense. That's an elite defense. Elite. And they can't score 20 points.
So I'm just wondering, Miami at Cleveland this week, does the losing coach get fired? Let's just say McDaniel and the Dolphins win, although they're an underdog right now. Think about that. The Dolphins are an underdog at Cleveland with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. Then they're at Atlanta, and then the Thursday night home game that you talked about with the Ravens. Never mind the fact who's going to have a better record when that game's played. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. And by the way, Tua's post game throwing everybody under the bus. If you're a leader as a quarterback, you can't do that in a press conference. You can't. You can do it alone in the room, but you can't walk to the microphone and start saying players are this, players are that. No, not as the quarterback. I'm sorry.
Well,
now,
McCourty of Sunday Night Football lit him up.
Should have.
Just lit him up and just said, I know the Patriot way and all that. He goes, do you really think Bill Belichick or Tom Brady would have said something like that? He goes, no. That stuff, it stays in-house. He goes, now, would Bill and Tom get in your face? Okay, and could it get uncomfortable? Oh, yeah. Okay, but there's no way they'd step to a podium and say that.
I mean, Tua, first interception wasn't your fault. I get it. The other two were. I know you let him back, but you throw interceptions. You're not accurate. You used to be accurate. You're no longer accurate. Outside of I've got to be better, I don't want to hear anything about the rest of the team from the guy who is supposed to be the leader. That's just me.
By the way, is everybody okay with the new kickoff? Boy, what a difference 5 yards has made. Because teams are not just banging it out of the end zone and letting them start at 35. They're trying to high, short kick and tackle them inside the 30. And we're getting a lot of returns. The Chargers returned it to the 41, in which you don't have to go very far anymore with the new K ball. I mean, is everybody okay? I mean, the Niners had like 26 seconds at the end of the half, got a field goal out of the first half. The Chargers had 42 seconds? Something like that. One play, boom, field goal range. It's made a huge difference this year.
It really has. It really has. And not many teams have had a way to stop the other. There's only a couple that are doing it right. When we come back, sometimes when you suck, you have to own it. One team did better than anybody I've ever seen.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you can be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
You know, I got to say, Puck, you were right. I don't get it. Mark Sanchez is still employed.
I don't get it either.
Not suspended, not anything. Don't get it. Even the baby mama came after him in the post.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So much to talk about from the weekend that was. By the way, the ALCS got started last night. Anybody aware of that? It's going to get a lot of interest, Seattle and Toronto. Man, if you think they were rooting for the Yankees, what do you think Fox feels about the Dodgers? Because if Milwaukee beats the Dodgers, you're going to have the winner of Seattle-Toronto against Milwaukee in the World Series. Hello.
David, I want to get to something that happened over the weekend that was epic. Epic. Yeah, and I'm not talking about Game 5 of the Tigers-Mariners series. That, in a lot of people's minds, was epic. And I think they're right. Unbelievable game.
So you're not going to talk about Indiana's win at Oregon, which was also epic?
No. I'm going to talk about one of the worst programs in college football today. If you were to rank the bottom 10 Power 4 college football programs right now, there is no way that you wouldn't put this team on the list. But what they did Saturday, what their fan base did Saturday, what a fan did Saturday, singularly changed them from laughingstock to I'll be damned. Because it all happened in Section 231 in Stillwater, Oklahoma, David.
Uh-oh.
Because Oklahoma State was losing, and losing big again. This is a team that only has beaten Tennessee Martin this year. David, you watched them lose 69-3. They got beat by Tulsa for, I think, like the first time in program history. Baylor whacked them. Arizona whacked them. And they were losing by 26 points to Houston at home on Saturday. When one fan sitting by himself in Section 231, he was the only fan in the section. He took off his shirt and started waving his shirt over his head. Others saw, and they followed. First 3, then about 10, then a few more. And shortly, not only was Section 231 full of shirtless men waving their shirts over their head, but the sections on each side were then full. And college bros and old alumni and just people who were fans of the team were shirtless in Oklahoma, waving their shirts over their head for the best crowd scene I've seen this year. Screw rushing the field. Screw Mr. Brightside in Ann Arbor. Screw Jump Around in Madison. Screw the whiteout in Happy Valley. Give me fat guys with their shirts off, waving them over their head while their team's down 26. That, my friend, is a fan base. James Franklin, you could do worse than Oklahoma State. That's all I'm saying.
There are going to be a lot of jobs available. By the way, if you're James Franklin, what if you just stay home? I think somebody figured it out, by the way, Mark. I had it here. So James Franklin will make $15 a minute, $913 an hour, $666,666 per month for the next 6 years. He's going to make just under $22,000 a day.
That was the number I saw. The $20,000 a day.
Oh,
a day.
21,917 a day. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. So I don't know. I could sit out a year or two.
Right. As a hardworking friend of mine texted me yesterday, I wish my boss would call me in and hand me $45 million to take a blank and walk.
All right. How many wins do you think Norvell now needs to keep his job? He's 3-3. He's lost 3 in a row. All right, you lose. A controversial call goes against you. You lose on a Friday night at Virginia, who is now ranked. So, okay, you lose to Miami, one of the top 3 teams in the country. Okay, you lose at home to Pitt. Now, I could try to tell Florida State fan, if Pitt had played the freshman quarterback from the beginning, they wouldn't have the record that they had. But, all right.
They don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear it.
What they're aware of, David, is what I brought up earlier in the show. They haven't won a conference game in 380 days.
So now let's play the number. What's the number that he needs at 3-3? Which, by the way, is probably what a lot of Florida State fans had him preseason. Remember, did you have him beating Alabama? Okay, so you switch out, you might have had him 4-2.
Yeah, you had him 4-2.
Okay, because you had him winning at Virginia and home against Pitt. Okay, but you're 3-3. You're at Stanford.
It's one
Saturday
that
night.
Would be, by the way, they would be in that bottom 10 Power 4 teams, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. Mark, Florida State is a 17.5-point favorite at Stanford, which is why I think it's a situation where if you lose, you could lose your job. All right, I really believe that. If no excuses, don't care. If they lose to Stanford, I don't think Mike Norvell's coaching the Gators 2 weeks later. That's another thing. They enter their bye off of Stanford. You think he survives the bye and gets to coach at home against Wake Forest? 2-10 last year, 4 losses in a row this year, losing to, as you mentioned, one of the 10 worst teams in Power 4 football, Stanford.
David, really and truly, and I know, Clemson looks to have improved from the dreadful start they had. They'll be favored in every game they play, with the exception of at Clemson and at Florida the rest of the way.
Well, okay. So let's just say they win the games they're favored to win, which, by the way, they've not done here recently.
I know. They were a 10-point favorite against Pitt.
And they were favored at Virginia. Okay. But they beat Stanford. They beat Wake Forest, who's not that good, and Florida State's home. They lose to Clemson. Virginia Tech at home, not a good team. Okay, already fired their coach. Do they go to NC State and win? By the way, short week, another Friday night road ACC game for the Noles.
David, if they're not 8-4, explain to me how he keeps his job.
Well, okay, let's just say he's 7-4 playing the Gators. Is he coaching for his job?
Yep. I think so. I do. And they can talk about the Alabama game all they want, because Alabama could be really good by the time this season's over. They look like they figured it out.
Right. The quarterback who missed open receivers against Florida State's not missing them right now.
No, he is not.
So you think then the number's 8? You don't think they can be? How about they're 6-5 and they go to Gainesville and beat the Gators?
That's fascinating.
Is that the only way where if you were the AD, a 7-5 season, he gets to keep his job? He's beaten Alabama and Florida. It's going to cost you a lot of money. I think it's in the 20s to get rid of him after this year. It's still pretty high.
And then I know it becomes a question of who can you get?
Yep.
Because at that point, there's other guys that are going to be fired between now and then. And you're then behind the race for who the new coach is.
Well, they'll be able to get somebody. It's a good job. It's a very good job, actually. Right. Okay. Let's go the other way. Obviously, we know. I mean, Strickland is not firing Napier unless somebody puts a gun to his head. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Okay. However, if they lose at home to Mississippi State Saturday, heading into a bye week before the cocktail party, does he coach the cocktail party?
He's got to be done if he loses to Mississippi State.
Pull a Ron Zook, although Zook lost on the road, but yeah,
yes.
Okay. So let's just say,
because, it'll be loud. The booze, that's a game you can't lose.
No, you can't. No. I think if Norvell loses to Stanford, he's fired. I think if Napier loses to Mississippi State, he's fired. They're both heading into a bye week, by the way. But
that's in Mississippi State's homecoming. And I know people that are just fans don't care, but when it's that loud, and that's the alumni game, that's the one game that certain alumni only come back for.
Mark, what was Penn State's homecoming game this year?
It was Northwestern, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I mean, look, to a lesser extent, my Spartans got blown up by UCLA. It was homecoming. You lose games and you lose badly. In that case, they lost bad. You lose homecoming and you get booed off the field. Those are the fans that typically don't boo. They love their team no matter what. Homecoming's different at college than every other game. You lose Mississippi State, he's done.
Okay. Let's just say, though, since they're better than Mississippi State, they are an early 9.5-point favorite that they win. Okay. Then you get the week off, and then you got 5 straight to end the season. The cocktail party at Kentucky. I got to admit, you lose to Kentucky, I think you can fire them before, they finish with Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State. You lose at Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky, they only won one SEC game last year. The way it was Ole Miss helped keep them out of the playoff. I don't know how many Kentucky's going to win this year either. Just saying. So a couple opportunities here in which I don't think Scott Strickland's going to have a choice. One of them is this Saturday. But that means that Napier sees the cocktail party. And Mark, you and I both know they can beat Georgia.
Oh, yeah. That team that played against Texas is going to give the Dogs all they want. I think Georgia's overrated. I'm sorry. That defense isn't very good. And Gunnar Stockton, really?
If we put a poll question up that said, how many of the current coaches will be coaching the Florida State game at the end of November, 0, 1, or 2, what would your answer be?
I think 1, because I think Norvell will make the year.
Okay.
I don't think Napier will. I think after he loses the cocktail party, that's it.
All right.
I think that's it.
But I do think both coaches are coaching for their job this Saturday. Norvell can't lose. I mean, listen, this could be Pat Hayden, with Lane. I mean, Norvell might just get fired on the tarmac out in California. It's happened before.
And on that note, Delphin, would you rather McDaniel coach until Madrid and then have to have him get his own way home from Spain? Would that make you feel any better?
Come on. You can't do was it the Panthers who fired Gallant? Okay, and he had to get his own cab, to the airport. It was such a bad look.
No, I know it's a bad look. I'm asking Delphin. I'm not asking Stephen Ross. I'm asking Delphin right now. If your choice was he could coach until the Washington game, but you fire him and he has to get his own way home, would that make you feel any better? That's all I'm asking. Miller and Moulton.
I do.
Florida and Florida State could both be looking for new coaches. Wow.
If they lose this Saturday, I'm telling you, Florida State loses at Stanford, he's done. Okay. And Billy loses at home, homecoming to Mississippi State, he's done. Done. Instantly. Done. Won't make it 24 hours. I do think, by the way, the Dolphins-Browns game in Cleveland this Sunday, I do think the losing coach gets fired. Now, I'm not just saying that. They're both 1-5, okay, and I think losing coach gets fired.
And Mississippi State, they've played a couple of teams tough, but they've done so at home. They come into Gainesville and win.
Done. Doesn't see the cocktail party.
Yeah, and Strickland shouldn't either.
Well,
which
begs the question, who hires the new coach? But I agree, it shouldn't be Scott Strickland.
Miller and Moulton, the Diamond District Bonus Hour. That's next. Football season is back, and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you.
Got a cracked window or foggy glass? Don't wait for the next storm to make it worse. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business is just down the road and ready to help. From leaky frames to shattered panes, we've got the tools and the know-how to get your home or business storm ready. With flexible scheduling and our done right promise, you'll be in good hands. So before or after the weather hits, call your neighbors at Glass Doctor.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
tell you there are a few that I have ever observed from a distance and up close that I was convinced had the overarching best interest of college athletics and doing it the right way at the forefront of their decision making more than James Franklin. And that's not to paint him as a Boy Scout. What I'm saying is, I thought he had a lot more equity built up than this. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt, Robert. And he's doing it without a lot of help. I mean, line's banged up. They lost Ibuka, doing it with fourth and fifth string receivers. It's quite impressive. It really is. And Robert, thanks for popping in. I know you're a Pat Kerwin only guy usually, so appreciate it. Adam, I don't know. He doesn't know how to handle game day. He just doesn't. There's no two ways about it. He is a lousy game day coach. Great question, Deadstroke. I don't ever go to the theater, so I'm the wrong guy to ask. But with all these biopics where guys sing and this guy's lip syncing, come on.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Overreaction Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. A very simple poll question. Is Penn State a coach away from being a consistently elite team? Yay or nay?
Little housekeeping we need to do, David, that we've neglected throughout the show.
Okay.
You, after a 5-3 week, had a 4-4 week with a very bad beat.
It's all right.
You had a really good win that you got away with South Florida scoring with 36 seconds left to give you a 5-3 week last week.
So
this week, UCF scores, and I believe the final minute of the game, and then goes for 2. An extra point would have covered for UCF. They go for 2. If they don't get it, they lose by 11. The spread is 10.5.
Right.
But they get the 2-point conversion.
Right.
They lose by 9, and it's a loss for David.
So
when they were going for 2, I had the game on, and I am beside myself fascinated with that 2-point conversion, as any degenerate gambler would be.
I was going to say, I was thrilled that they were going for 2.
Absolutely. I
hated,
will say, go ahead, David. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I hated the pass interference call, which set him up at 1st and goal at the 2. I'm like, oh, come on.
It was pass interference, and
I
you
know
know it.
it was. I know
But
it was.
Lee Sterling comes on the show, and Lee had a 3-2 week. He missed his game of the week, by the way. He is 3-5 on his games of the week on the show, and that is not like Lee Sterling. He's been money on those games of the week over the years. But he went 3-5, and he had the Lions last night, and that obviously was a loser. I went 2-3 because that's all I seem to do. It's 3-2 or 2 or 3, and I've been 2-3 3 straight weeks. So I'm 3 games under 500. David is 12 games under 500. But one of the things Lee talks about on this show is he has his, 40, 45 unit plays. Those are his big plays. And he's done well, over 73% or right around 73% over the last 15, 20 years, whatever it is. And it's documented. And since he's come on this show, he gives us every one of those picks. I don't let Lee play this. I had a winning week. We won another 40 unit play. Unless you're telling me what the play is, you don't get to talk about it on our show. And I've been that way from David from the moment he and I teamed up over 19 years ago. But if David would have had a 40 or 45 unit play, it would have been the game involving two of the worst teams really in college football history. Kent State played UMass. And I was laughing hysterically as David not only made the pick, but broke the game down. Passing offense, passing defense for each team. And then talked about their competition. And believe it or not, Kent State's played a bunch of good teams this year.
Right.
They've been getting paid. They have been, Kent State said, we need money to keep this program afloat. So they've played Florida State, and they've played this team. They've been getting paychecks. UMass hadn't. That game was over by halftime. Maybe by the end of the first quarter. Kent State blew them out. So I'm proud of you for that win, David. I really am.
Come on. Evenly matched teams. You can't bet against Kent State at home. Come on now. But
Right.
Yes, I was putting good hard-earned money on the team ranked 134th on offense, 136th on defense. By the way, there's 137 FBS schools. And yes, I laid points with that team and won decidedly. Thank you very much. Their first win over an FBS opponent in 35 months. Thank you.
I had one sentimental pick that backfired on me. I only said all week, that I thought Florida State was in trouble against Pitt. I thought that was a dangerous game.
Yep.
Why, for the life of me, I didn't take Pitt in 10.5 is the dumbest move I've made in picking games on this show. That's the one that crushed me. As I'm watching the game, I'm at my daughter's soccer game on Saturday morning. One of the dads, great college football fan. Like the whole family's into it. His wife's father was actually a D coordinator at a lot of big schools. They're into college football. And we're talking about all kinds of games. I'm like, I'm telling you, I think Florida State's got their hands full today. And he texts me right after the game. He goes, well, you called that. Why wasn't I smart enough to do it on the show? Oh, well, 2-3 again. 2-3 again.
I do want to add an addendum. If you were with us last segment, we were talking about coaches and they may be walking the plank if they don't get a W this particular Saturday or Sunday. Mark, Billy Napier's buyout is down to $19.4 million, I believe, after this season.
Yeah, after the season. It's 24 now.
Right.
It's like 20 after the year. Right.
Right. 19.4, I think, after the season. Mike Norvell's at the end of the year is 53. It's 59 now. So if they do what I think they will do if he loses at Stanford as a 17-point favorite and fire him heading into a bye week, they got to come up with $59 million over the next 6 years is how they have to do the payout. Basically, they got to come up with $10 million a year and hand it to Mike Norvell for the next 6 years. Now, You tell me, big Florida State booster out there. Can you guys do this? See, it's a little different at Penn State. They had Adidas step up and say, oh, no, we'll take care of the Franklin buyout. You got anybody like that?
It is the one thing we've talked about for a long time on this show. Florida State doesn't have the money that Florida does. Florida State doesn't have the money that Miami does.
By the way, Brian Kelly's buyout at the end of this season is 53. Yes. Is LSU Nation not in love with Brian Kelly? Yes, they are not in love with their coach. 53 million at the end of the year? Not in love? It's got to be more than not in love. Let me tell you that.
You know, and Franklin was able to get that big buyout because they locked him into a big contract because every year they were scared he was going to leave. And I do wonder in the NIL portal world where, and Bill Bender kind of alluded to it in what he talked about, it's going to be tough to be a college football dynasty anymore. What we've talked about for 4 years on this show, at least, David, are you okay with the NCAA looking like the NFL? And we don't just mean the paying of players. We mean your team going 9-3, 8-4. You know, you're used to your great teams being undefeated or having one loss. It certainly seems like that's going to be a thing of the past.
It's funny
especially with the SEC and ACC going to 9 conference games.
A guy whose work you and I really like is Josh Pate. Josh Pate last night said he thinks it's absurd that Penn State has just done what they've done. And he said, you guys are looking at the world of college football through 2019 glasses, through even 2021 glasses. He goes, you used to at certain programs look at 9 wins as the floor. You can't do that anymore. It's too volatile. There's too much uncertainty. Okay. You have to, he says you need to bake in a bad year. Okay. Now Norvell's 2-10 is beyond the pale, but he says you may need to bake in a 6-6, 7-5 season when you make your moves and they just don't pay off. And a lot of you fan bases and boosters out there of 20 or so programs, you're not facing the true reality of how volatile it is out there.
And how long can we keep giving these coaches essentially the baseball contract of 10 years for $400 million, if you know what I mean? And to me, that's the bigger part of it. With the volatility, you know, and just look at Georgia for an example. Bud Elliott has pointed out, it looks like they made some bad decisions on the guys they kept versus the guys that they let transfer. You don't have the ability anymore with NIL to have the depth that you did just a couple of years ago. If a guy's not going to play, he can pick up and leave and make $500,000 playing somewhere else. I mean, I go back, I was a little stunned to see the Indiana safety or whatever, the kid that sued for his extra year and got it, sued for $400,000 because that's what he was going to make at Indiana. I'm like, Bud, is that what you're going to start? He's, oh yeah, that's what a starting D-back's getting in the Big Ten now. So with that kind of money for a starter, and you're not paying the backup that because you don't have enough NIL money, you don't have depth. There are very few schools that do.
So I think it will be very difficult for Mike Norvell to continue as coach of Florida State if they were to lose this coming Saturday to Stanford. But do need to point out, the buyout, by the way, is easy to figure. It's 85% of his contract. And 2 years ago, they gave him a $10 million a year contract. So you just do the math. So like right now, I think if they fired him now during the season, okay, like if they do what I say, which is they're going to fire him if they lose to Stanford, 58.7. take 15% off that if you wait till after the season and then fire him. So, you save yourself X amount of money accordingly. But Billy Napier, I mean, it's 20.
Right.
He loses to Mississippi State Saturday. They'll come up with that money. They'll come up with it within 24 hours.
And Florida just has more money than Florida State. And this is where, the Texas schools seemingly have unlimited dollars from their boosters. That's why they're buying these coaches out. But have we reached the point where universities aren't going to get outsmarted by agents and not sign coaches to these long-term extensions just because they want it? I'm sorry, 5 years is enough. Anything beyond that handcuffs the university. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Think we only fix windows? Think again. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business does so much more to upgrade your home. We custom build stunning shower and bath enclosures, install sleek glass doors and windows, and can bring fresh life to foggy or cracked panes. Need a glass tabletop or a statement mirror? Yep, we do that too. If it's glass and it's in your home, we're the team to call.
Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah!
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
David, Wisconsin's lost 9 straight to power conference teams. That's okay. They play Ohio State, then Oregon, then Washington, then Indiana.
Right.
They finish with Minnesota. I mean, the bottom of the Big Ten's awful.
Mm-hmm. But
No, I get it. But I mean, it's Michigan State, Wisconsin. I think they're the worst too. Purdue, maybe. I think Rutgers is better than Sparty.
I do too.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day win. Some final thoughts, a pick or two, all coming up. Not one, but two Monday Night Football games tonight. Not one, but two baseball playoff games today and tonight. Yeah, 5 and 8 for the baseball, 7:15 and 8:15 for the football. Make your plans accordingly. If we could go back to something that you were talking about last segment. Here, though, is the fundamental change, Mark, that will have to take place that you, if you were an AD, want to start and lead the revolution. And you know I am totally behind you. I have not believed the contracts that have been given out to the coaches for a long time. I thought they've been absurd. But what you essentially have with coaching contracts is you have baseball and NBA contracts. They're fully guaranteed. Okay. Now, in Norvell's case, it's 85% of what he's owed is fully guaranteed. So I guess the contract is only 85% buyout guaranteed. But still, considering that he's a top 10 paid coach in the sport, that's an obscene amount of money. Mark, to me, what would have to happen, and I'll be curious the first AD with the power to do it, because Jimmy Sexton is responsible for the coaching salaries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is, I mean, you want to talk about men and boys when it comes to negotiation. Sexton versus an AD, it's laughable how much more power he has than the athletic director.
Right. And so what's going to happen is, Mark, what's the job that is so good so enticing that the AD can look at Jimmy Sexton and go, Jimmy, here's how it's going to work. This is going to be an NFL player contract. 5, 6, however many years, and how much of it's going to be guaranteed. That's how we're going to do it. Because, Jimmy, if your client comes in here and does an average to above average to decent job, and I'm paying him to be very good or elite, I'm going to have to move on, and I ain't paying him the full contract. So I'll give your client the going rate, 9, 10, whatever it is, and I'll give it to him for 6 years. But you know how much of it I'm guaranteeing? 3.
Well, I don't think that'll ever happen, David. I don't. But they're giving these guys 10-year contracts, 6-year, 8-year contracts. I think what has to change is the length of the contract.
Okay.
Because the NFL coaches are getting the same guaranteed money as the college coach. NFL coaches' contracts are guaranteed.
Right, but I'm not talking
But they don't
coaches.
get the length.
Right. I'm not talking coaches, though. I'm talking players. Okay. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. I just think you're going to have to say, fine, I'll make it. You know how the agents do. They get the 5, 6 year contract for the player, and it's an AAV that's, makes the agent look really good. But yeah, essentially it's a 3-year deal. Okay. That to me is how I think an AD, and you tell me the job. Okay. In which, because Jimmy Sexton is essentially Scott Boras.
Yes.
Okay.
No, David, I don't think Penn State's it. Maybe Ohio State. Maybe Alabama.
So you don't think Penn State's a good enough job where the AD could say to Jimmy Sexton, Jimmy, I'm offering your client the Penn State job. All right. I'm not going to fully guarantee the contract. We learned from James Franklin. Sorry. Okay. You say to your client, by the way, this will be his only chance to get the Penn State job. And how many other jobs out there will ever become available that your client will have a chance to get?
David, I agree with what you're saying fundamentally. We're taking a different approach at it. I'm saying, I'll give you 4 years with a 5th-year option. I'm not giving you 6, 8, 10 years. It's not happening. You're not getting that length that puts this university in a spot where they are handcuffed for a decade if your coach doesn't perform.
I think you'll get more resistance your way than mine. I'll give the 6, 7, 8-year deal. I just won't fully guarantee it. I'll only guarantee 4 of it. Okay, because the coach thinks he's going to do a great job. So the coach is convinced that, that's fine. I'll be doing such a good job 3, 4 years in. We're going to tear this sucker up and I'll get a raise.
Okay, I guess the only thing is that the NFL head coach gets a 5-year deal. Why wouldn't it be the same in college? They're getting longer deals. Norvell got a 6, 7, 8-year extension. That's all. I mean, we're arguing the same thing, just different ways.
Well,
you
but
don't think?
I think the sports are different, though. Okay, in college, you think of it in terms of a 4 or 5-year cycle. In the NFL, they give out. We all know that coaches have 2 to 3 years, and maybe we're going to get there with college.
And that's what I believe. In the NIL world, again, with teams going 8-4, with all of a sudden having a 6-6 year, with this game changing so fundamentally now with the portal and NIL, you'll have exceptions. Like, I think a Kirby Smart will be an exception. He's one of theirs. That'll be different. But there aren't too many of those out there.
Anybody on Saturdays, by the way, you want your team on Sundays to hire? Anybody? I mean, the guy who's managing the Brewers right now in the NLCS was the Notre Dame baseball coach forever. Council made him his bench coach a couple of years ago because he was great friends with him and trusted him. And after 20 years or whatever it was at Notre Dame, Murphy was like, yeah, sure, I could be your bench coach. Now he's managing them, and he's 4 wins away from the World Series. He was in college an hour and a half ago. Just curious.
So I think, and David, you brought up exactly what the problem is. The agents are controlling this completely. Jimmy Sexton is controlling the entire college football coaching landscape. How can one guy have that much control over every single AD? Oh, yeah, by the way, let me ask you a question, David, because I don't know the answer to this, but you might. How many of these ADs are also represented by Jimmy Sexton?
Well, that I have no idea.
A few, though, I would think.
A few are. Yes, a few are. But, Mark, we said it last year, and I know it's forever ago in our immediacy world that we're in, but the entire baseball free agency landscape was held captive by Scott Boras and Juan Soto. Teams were waiting till that played out until they're like, okay, we got to see who gets Soto, and then that will determine who's interested in this guy, this guy, this guy. And the whole baseball world just sat there going, Soto signed yet? No? All right, let's go play golf. So Scott Boras was holding up the whole sport.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he's probably going to do it again in a year when Scooble's a free agent.
He's definitely going to do it again. You need one of two things to happen. And there have been teams that have waited Boras out, and he reluctantly agrees to a 1-year deal. Okay. And then you have the 2 or 3 clients that you can count on who said to Boras, Scott, I know you could get me more money. I want to play here. I'm going to take less. I'm taking this deal. Against Boras's recommendation, so much so that Boras doesn't show up at the presser because he doesn't want to be associated with the contract. How many ADs and presidents are willing to look at Jimmy Sexton and play that kind of poker? Because, Mark, that's what it's going to take.
And I don't know if they will. I don't think that they have the guts, not to mention they're essentially, even though they're the ones getting the contract done, they're not the ones paying them. The boosters who control the AD's job are paying them. So the ADs are handcuffed. Sexton knows that, and he gets what he wants for every single coach out there. And the universities ends up paying all these buyouts. Miller and Moulton.
Sales experience at the Diamond District. We offer a litany of other services. Appraisals.
We have 2 GIA certified gemologists, full-time, servicing your needs with appraisals.
We buy gold, diamonds, gemstones, Rolex watches. Repairs.
We have 3 full-time master bench jewelers.
A beautiful custom design department so that we can give you one-of-a-kind jewelry. Come see Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to nolanagency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or nolanagency.com.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This is Miller and Moulton.
Oh my God.
Everything okay?
Yeah. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
That's what I reacted to. What I just sent you. Wow.
Thought it 15 years ago, but that
Yeah.
proves me right. It's frightening what's out there.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till we're out of here. Little Monday Night Football preview coming up in a bit. Make some picks on some games today. But you know what time it is.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1792, the cornerstone was laid for the executive mansion, the White House. 1885, Georgia Tech was founded. How long before they lose their football coach? 1903, the World Series. The Boston Americans beat the Pittsburgh Pirates in Game 8 of the best of 9. We skip way ahead. 66, the premiere of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. They debut in Normandy, France. 67, the first ABA game is played. The Oakland Oaks beat the Anaheim Amigos 132-129. The red, white, and blue ball and the three-point line.
All right, here we go. You had the Pittsburgh Pipers, the Minnesota Muskies, the Indiana Pacers, the Kentucky Colonels, and the New Jersey Americans, along with the New Orleans Buccaneers, the Dallas Chaparrals, the Denver Rockets, the Houston Mavericks, along with your Anaheim Amigos and Oakland Oaks.
Today in 71, the first World Series night game. 71. Pirates beat the Orioles. It was Game 4 at Three Rivers. A bunch of things happened today in 78. None of them really that important, but I'm going to give you all of them anyhow. Queen released Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race as a single. The cover photo combined imagery from both songs. You can figure it out. Billy Joel would release 52nd Street. It would win the Grammy for Album of the Year. And President Carter answered callers' questions on National Public Radio. The bit that Aykroyd does, imitating that on SNL, is legendary. 1982. It took a while, but the IOC made right for Jim Thorpe's gold medals from the 1912 games. David, I know you remember this. Cardinals rookie Vince Coleman, today in 85, is injured stretching before the game as his leg was caught on Busch Stadium's automated tarp.
And he missed the World Series.
Yep.
And that was the fateful one with the Royals and what have you. And to think that they nearly won it without him, imagine what they would have done with him.
And today in 91, the Twins win the AL pennant, beating Toronto in 5. Cito Gaston becomes the first manager ejected in a playoff game. Lenny Bruce, Margaret Thatcher, and Hall of Fame third baseman Eddie Matthews would have all celebrated birthdays today. Paul Simon is 84. Jerry Jones, 83. The Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar, is 78. Jockey Pat Day, 73. Marie Osmond, 66. Doc Rivers, 64. Jerry Rice is 63. Trevor Hoffman, 58. Nancy Kerrigan, 56. Sacha Baron Cohen is 54. Hooper Paul Pierce is 48. And Hooper Jermaine O'Neal is 47. And Southwest Florida's favorite politician, AOC, is 36. What did I miss, David?
Solid. Very solid. I always love when you go AOC with the editorial comment. So Cito got ejected when for the Blue Jays?
Today in 91.
Okay. My favorite playoff manager ejection of all time. Mike Hargrove got ejected 3 pitches into a playoff game in 98. All right. Dwight Gooden was the starting pitcher, and he throws 3 strikes, and they're all called balls. The third one was a batting practice right down the middle of the plate, just above the knees. Here it's 2-0. I know you're taking. I'm going to throw a strike. And the home plate umpire calls it a ball. Gooden, it literally has his hands out, the whole deal. He nearly gets ejected, and he literally is trying to calm the home plate umpire down. He's like, relax. It's okay. It's okay. I'm fine. Okay. And he walks off the mound. Hargrove takes a slow walk out to the mound, waiting for the home plate umpire to join the conversation. And Hargrove gets ejected 3 pitches into a playoff game. Never forget it.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Mays, Kansas for the good, where a truck was driving in and out of a ditch, and a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old passenger were able to pull in front of the truck to get the truck to slow down and stop. The driver was having a medical issue, and if it wasn't for the two teenagers, bad things could have happened. They're credited with saving his life. For the bad, we go to Daytona Beach, where police apprehended a large iguana. That's right. They missed first at the first scratch, but the iguana got stuck in a fence, and they put the lizard in the cop car to get it out of the area. Finally, the ugly. We go to Ohio, where body cam footage from a police officer showed officers in pursuit of a large pumpkin. The Parma Heights Police Department found themselves in hot pursuit of a giant inflatable pumpkin that was rolling through town in the early hours Wednesday morning. No shots were fired, but the pumpkin was apprehended. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Monday, October the 13th, here on Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. Now hiring new officers. Great pay. A signing bonus. Where do they go, David?
CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com.
I'm going to laugh every day we do that. I really am. I love it. All right, let's talk some Monday Night Football.
And it's mocking radio commercials from 10, 12 years ago. It's just a couple of eyes who get up early to go to work, and we get punchy. That's all. Okay, first off, I didn't mention it in the starting five. Someone just pointed out in the Twitch chat room. Did you see that your buddy Ryan Brindley's son, Gavin, scored?
Good for him. Got moved out to
Colorado
and
Tough
made
place.
the squad.
Yep.
Good for him. That's the second kid who basically played their youth hockey in Southwest Florida that's in the NHL. Seamus Casey and Gavin Brindley. That's awesome stuff.
Yep, scored Saturday night in an Avs home shootout loss to the Stars. But Gavin Brindley on the score sheet in the NHL. Congrats to him. All right. Can I just throw this out there? And I know this is sacrilegious to do, and Bills fans may get angry at me, and I'm thinking of my buddy Jason who listens. Do we know how good the Bills are? We think they're very good, all right? And we thought they were very good just a week ago. But do we look at the Bills differently now that we realize that their 4 wins are against the Ravens, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints? Does that change anything? That literally they have 4 wins over 4 teams who combined have 3 wins? So I'm just curious. We said, they played down to their competition and they walked against New England. Yeah, no excuses tonight, okay? I think we really find out if Buffalo is a very good team or if Buffalo has also slipped in Atlanta tonight. Not going to be easy, but you're favored to win. This is one of those, Mark, you go and you just find a way to walk out of there with a 3, 4, 6-point win, 30-24, and you just get on the bus and go to the airport.
You know, the Bills are one of the best offenses in the league. Most yards, way up there in points.
Yes.
Their weakness is their run defense. What is it the Atlanta Falcons do really well? Bijan Robinson's a stud. That's the game to me tonight, David. I think the Bills win, but I'll be interested to see if they can stop Robinson.
And I took the Falcons.
You did. I took the Bills.
Right. I'm taking the 2 dogs tonight, by the way, to win straight up.
That means he's taken to Bears as well, which goes against everything that David Moulton believes in, because he may have a bigger man crush on Jaden Daniels than I do. And yet you're taking the Bears. Really?
Yeah, it's a gut feel. I think this game is from a year ago has left a sour taste in the Bears' mouth. And I know new coach and a few new players, but I think the Bears play honked off tonight. I really do. I also think it's a huge game for them in terms of, okay, they got the 2-2. That's nice. Pat them on the head. You beat Washington. And also, what a big game for Washington. Dallas lost to Carolina. So you're now looking at the Cowboys going, yeah, I don't think they're a true contender in the East. And the Eagles have lost 2 in a row. You win tonight, you're tied for first. And you got the better division record.
Well, not just the division, David, but I think both teams. When you look at the NFC West, you have 3, 4, and 2 teams. You've got Detroit and Green Bay in the North. You know, if you're going to be a wild card team, you're going to have to beat one of these teams that we all think are pretty good out. You lose tonight, it's a game that will come back and bite you late in the season, David.
Very
and
much
McLaurin
so.
out for Washington. Will that be a big deal tonight for the Commanders?
So I got the 2 dogs winning straight up. I know nobody thinks the Bears going to win tonight. This is kind of a gut feel by me. This isn't, looking at research or anything. This is more just a gut feel. Like I picked the Gators over the Longhorns. I just felt Florida was going to win. That's kind of my call tonight. I think this one is personal for those on the Bears sideline who were there a year ago.
Pretty good pitching matchup in this American League game tonight, for what it's worth. Gilbert had a great outing against Detroit in his win, and Yusevich, the rookie for Toronto, was lights out against the Yankees.
Wait, you mean the guy who had a no-hitter when he was removed?
Yes.
That kid?
11 Ks in 5 1/3, everyone.
Right. So that's game 2 at 5 o'clock. And by the way, Fox doing the simulcast. Big Fox and FS1 at 5 o'clock tonight is my understanding for game 2 of the ALCS. They're trying to get as many damn people to watch as possible.
Yeah, it's a day off. I mean, David, if you were in town, you couldn't go to the post office or the bank. I don't know how you'd survive.
It's also, I think, Thanksgiving north of the border.
That is true.
Yeah. So this is a national holiday in Canada, Seattle, Toronto, 5 o'clock.
By the way, because of the holiday in Canada and I think Columbus Day or whatever, there's a bunch of afternoon hockey today for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Sabres and Avalanche play at 12:30. Jets and Islanders at 1. Preds and Senators at 1. Lightning on the road with the Bruins at 1. And the Wings and the Maple Leafs at 2. I got a full day ahead of me. I've got afternoon hockey, afternoon baseball, and an early Monday night football game. It's like Christmas has come early for me, David.
Game 2, ALCS, Fox at 5. Game 1, NLCS. By the way, I know most people don't give a damn about either of these baseball teams, but it's payroll number 1 against payroll number 22. The Dodgers, of course, are number 1. The Brewers at slightly more than 1/3 of the Dodgers payroll. That doesn't include the taxes that the Dodgers are paying and what have you. So Toronto's payroll, by the way, is 5th.
Yeah, they paid all their young players. Right. I mean, the guys they had, they re-signed and spent the money.
So payrolls are 1, 5, 15, and 22 that are left in baseball. But 8 o'clock TBS, the National League, American League is on Fox at 5. And 7:15, Bills and Falcons, ESPN. 8:15, Bears and Commanders, ABC.
David going the home team in the early game, the road team in the late game. I'm doing the opposite. And we're both rooting for the Brewers. Don't know if they'll win, but Miller and Moulton pulling for the Brew Crew.
Yep. I want a Seattle-Milwaukee World Series. I said it when the playoffs started. It's not what I picked. I picked Seattle and Philly, but I wanted a Seattle-Milwaukee World Series.
Enjoy the rest of your Monday. You've got a lot of sports to watch today. Hockey, baseball, football. Take your pick. It's all there and it's on all day. Thanks for listening to Miller and Moulton.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
When Glass Doctor replaces your windshield, we don't just send you on your way, we send you off protected. Your local Glass Doctor includes the industry's only 12-month windshield protection plan at no extra cost. That means unlimited chip repairs and even a one-time replacement if needed. High-quality service backed by real peace of mind, right here in your neighborhood.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor. We fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Exclusions apply. See your local Glass Doctor for details.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
When you're craving the real taste of Chicago, there's only one name to know. Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy. Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell them Miller and Moulton sent you.
This is Miller and Moulton.